Set ceremonies at
240. More like 250 per run sheet.
250, alright. We're streaming now, live on Facebook.
Live?
Yep. So,
Lovely work. No mic safe.
hang on a second.
Welcome to KG5 on a special day right across Australia, Anzac Day, a solemn occasion and a really beautiful day in the State South for a big round 5 clash between Glenorchy, Magpies and the Kingborough Tigers. I'm Damian Gill, bringing this one live to you. Alongside me, it's my pleasure to introduce Anthony Osborn. How you going, Anthony?
Gilly. No, great to be here, mate. Looking forward to this one. Bit blustery down here at KG5, but should be in for a good game.
And the ever insightful Cam Brown. Welcome, Cam.
Yeah, good afternoon, Gilly. Good afternoon, Oz. Looking forward to this one. These two teams have traditionally played this game slot now for the last 4 years, I think. So a great opportunity for these two teams to pay their respect on what's a really important day for our country, and footy can play a small part in that. So it'll be a really good test today, I think, for the Tigers to see where they're at. They had a good win last week, but Glenorchy will certainly give them a good audit where their footy program's at today.
Big crowd in, Cam. I've got a go-to spot here at KG5 and where I like to park. No dice today. I was streets away. The Glenorchy faithful are packed in for Anzac Day footy.
And it's great, isn't it? And it's a standalone game in terms of the TSL with the other rounds being played on Saturday. So, yeah, it's great to see people get around, and obviously with other competitions around the state or around the local area not playing today, it gives an opportunity for these two teams to be standalone and get some support from both the teams.
Now, as is the case on Anzac Day, we're going to have a pre-game ceremony. Glenorchy just making their way over. Tigers not too far away after getting warmed up. And as we said, a solemn occasion, of course, a day that's much more than football. It's about honouring the efforts of men past and present in wartime, and we pay our respects here in the commentary box to all, service personnel. So we aren't far away at all from getting underway. Glenorchy sporting a special Anzac Day Guernsey. Not a bad looking Guernsey at all. So they're lining up, and Tigers will make their way over just before we get the ceremony underway. What do we expect today, Cam?
Look, for mine, I think Glenorchy will probably win this game. I think the Tigers will be in it for a while, though. As we mentioned, they come off a solid win last time out. So, it was a 10-goal win against North Hobart. So they'll go in with a bit of confidence. Glenorchy, we saw them a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, Gillian? They were super impressive the way they went about it. Well drilled, well organised, some personnel that's gone out of that team. But, gee, they look pretty strong. And we felt, although it being early on the season, we thought, this team is shaping up as a top 3 side. The Tigers are probably rebuilding and trying to get some continuity into this group of players. They're probably a little bit older than we think, though, Gilly, aren't they, in terms of some of the player personnel in there. But I think Glenorchy would probably win this one today.
We'll talk more about the game in a moment. We'll pause in commentary now for the ceremony and be back to go through both teams. That concludes the pre-game ceremony, a rousing rendition of the national anthem just to get us up and about, and a very solemn tribute for today, which is Anzac Day, of course. And both sides, Glenorchy and Tigers, run out and get ready to go. So we were talking just prior to that about what we expect from these two sides. Let's go through the sides first of all. The host today, Glenorchy, we're out at their Fortress KG5, and this is how they're going to line up, Anthony Osborn.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of established names in this Glenorchy outfit. Of course, Josh Arnold in defence, Harrison Gunther. Those sort of operators have been in really good form the last couple of years. We go through, and that star-studded midfield group, Reece Mott, Braden Webb, James Webb, Ben Camerick and Sam Rundle, just to name a few. Certainly plenty of talent across the park for the Magpies, and some of those young players who have really stepped up over the last 12 months or so.
A very even team, aren't they? And they're pretty good for mine off half-back, Gilly, and they're almost happy to do a lot of their tackling from the back half. Smith's a very good user of the footy. Arnold's been a terrific player for a long period of time. A big fan of Gunther and the way he's come on in his footy in the last couple of years. And then, as you mentioned to Aussie, some of their ball users in that midfield, they're really smart, make really good decisions, and they've found some different avenues to goal. Obviously, Grace is the one that's come across from Geelong previously with Clarence, and has performed really well. The goal-kicking Reeves, a player that we've got from the SFL. Grant, we're used to seeing playing down back, so it's a different look about the forward line this year.
Yeah, very excited. Tigers coach just walking up the stairs, getting round us there. Anthony Osborn, Trent Blomlow, very excited. And let's go through his side. The Tigers today, of course, the team on the improve. We'll just wait for the team to come up. They have had a late change from what is listed, so out of the side comes Gordon, but for good reason. He's been called up for the Devils, so that's a good opportunity for him. But in comes Benjamin Graham. What do you make of the Tigers, boys?
Yeah, well, I think it's a really good opportunity for them today to get a real test of where they are as a footy club. We know they were really strong last week against North Hobart. Terrific result for them. I think midfield's one of their strengths, like a lot of teams. But Lovell has obviously been in terrific form. Clifford now back into that team. I think he's a really good player. The boys, the way he goes about it, really hard working, and probably complements Lovell in there. We know Ryan Matthews has been one of the more consistent players in the competition for 3 or 4 years. The other player that's really come on for mine too is Sam Dygan. 4 goals last week, among the best players on the ground. But he's a really smart user of the footy. He's got great footy intelligence, makes really good decisions. So I expect him to go pretty well today.
Yeah, no, they're an exciting team. They'd love to have Drew out there. He's probably the big omission from their best side, as well as Gordon, who we mentioned before. Griggs, I liked his game early on in the season. Expect him off a wing or half back. And the one I'll get excited for every time he's near the footy, Cam Brown, is Mickey Paul. He's a big figure for
one
this
of your
side.
favourites.
Oh, already.
He's got a presence though, hasn't he? And he draws the footy, which gives the opportunity, because a player with his size and competitiveness, actually playing against one of his old teams too today in Glenorchy, Mickey Paul, but he'll bring it to ground if he doesn't mark it. So that's when some of the small forwards need to get up and about from a Kingborough Tigers perspective. So we're talking about, I guess, Graham, Reardon, a mid-sized forward. If they can hit the scoreboard, that'll give the Tigers some confidence today.
Now, I'm a big Mickey Paul man. I know you're a big fan of the work of Elijah Reardon, Anthony Osborn.
No, I certainly am. He's shown plenty of promise career at Signet prior to moving across to the Tigers, and really impressed in a practice game against the Tasmania Devils pre-TSL season as well. So just seems to have a knack for pulling off the unthinkable. There's a couple of moments there where he just, little toe pokes and one-handed grabs. So hopefully we get a few Elijah Reardon highlights today.
Now, I have no doubt we will see some highlights today. Now, the beauty of an Anzac Day game is there's a medal up for grabs, and we get to put it out there and
tip.
Do we?
I didn't know that.
We don't vote for it, but we get to tip pre-game who we think's going to take it out. Who do you like for it, Brownie?
Oh, geez, I wish I had time to prepare for this.
I don't roll that way. I like to stitch people up.
I'm going to go for a man who's been in terrific form. I think he's one of the best small forwards in the game, and I'll go with Cullen Daly. I thought he was terrific a couple of weeks ago. So smart, and talk about players with good decisions. He's one of them.
Aussie?
I'm going to go back-to-back Ben Camrick, winner of the medal last year. I think we'll go again.
Yeah, big Mickey Paul for me. But the Pies will win. Work that one out. As we start proceedings here at KG5, Braden Webb emerges, finds Duffy, who swings the ball inside 50, straight onto the chest of Jay Bowden. Well, that's gone to script for the Magpies. A hot start.
And he's been playing more forward than perhaps he has in previous seasons. The magician, Jay Bowden, we saw him kick, what was it, his 500th? Yep. A couple of weeks ago. What a performance that was. I think he booted 6 for the day. Was it 6?
6 for the day,
yeah.
Yep.
6 for the day. Here is Jay Bowden eyeing off his first for Anzac Day, crossing the paint of 50. He's let it hang out to the right, so that's going to be a minor score, but nonetheless, Glenorchy opened the scoring.
Yeah, it looks like young Blake McCulloch with the job on Jay Bowden to start. As Lockie Griggs plays onto himself, drives the ball outside of defensive 50, looking for his teammate in Lovell. He's approached by Arnold and a couple of other Glenorchy players, but the Magpies work it out. Ben Camrick at half forward, puts the ball inside 50, looking for Bowden again. Lockie Griggs floating back, unable to complete the mark. He should get a stoppage inside Tigers defensive 50.
Yeah, you mentioned Griggs. He was good in round 1, wasn't he, against North Launceston. He's got a nice long left foot kick. So they'd like to get the ball in his hands, one of their better users.
Ball comes in, Marcus Gardner, Josh Grant competing in the ruck. Grant decisively wins that one down. Big tackle laid by Marcus Davies, have a repeat stoppage. Have seen the last couple of weeks as well, the Tigers rolling a lot of players through that midfield. The 2 debutants last week, Alex Bessel and Patrick Kelly. Not afraid to be thrown into there as well by Trent Baumler. Plenty of bodies around this football. Everyone thought the umpire was going to blow his whistle, but Jay ended up that they got it out. Glenorchy, floating ball towards the top of the square. Aidan Grace at ground level, looking for his teammate in Daly. The Tigers able to just hack it away into some space.
Away they go now, the Tigers. They'll work it out of defensive 50 with Reardon the target. He's got space to operate in. See something he likes upfield, and it might just be Tyler Carter. He arrives, takes it on the second bite. Eager to get going. Inboard he goes, looking for Mickey Paul. He sold him well short. Able to gather. Hands out. Davies now. Boots inside. Duffy in a foot race with Lovell. He was never favoured there, the big man. Lovell marches on in and puts through an opener.
Well, you called it, Gilly. He made that look very, very easy, the ex-Hawthorn draftee, and he just swooped on that ball.
Duffy in a foot race with Lovell. He was never favoured there, the big man. Lovell marches on in and puts through an opener.
Kick across his body. Good response there from the Tigers. Their first inside 50 entry results in a goal.
Really good grab from Tyler Carter, I thought there. Presented really well, and he seems to have made the most of his chance after coming back into the side a couple of weeks ago. Just, I guess, provides another big body up there for them to target alongside Mickey Paul.
He does, important game. His dad, of course, was a great player for Glenorchy.
So back in the middle, ball goes up. Gardner competing with Duffy. Gardner wins it down to Lovell. immediately tackled. The umpire,
I think he was held there.
holding the man. So Kieran Lovell with the free kick, getting his hands on the ball nice and early. So the Tigers start to push forward. Little one inboard looking for Lockie Griggs, but well intercepted there by Ryan Banks-Smith. Jay Bowden in space at half forward here for the Magpies. Goes inside 50. Wonderful kick. Finds Aidan Grace, who takes a strong grab under pressure.
Brilliant kick, wasn't it? As you mentioned, Oz, it was a 2-on-1 situation, but it was fast kick, wasn't it? Kept low and hard and gave Grace a terrific opportunity. Good interception too from Ryan Banks-Smith, who read it there. The switch of play from Lovell, who was trying to get it across to Griggs, and Grace has set up with a difficult shot on the boundary.
Tight angle here for Aidan Grace in some strong goal kicking form. That one there, he has made not his best effort of that one, it must be said.
Made a meal of it is the word I think you're looking for.
Absolutely.
It's out, full.
Out of bounds.
We've seen him thread some terrific goals so far this year. That one was not one of them. Out of defence it comes. It was in the Ryan Matthews direction. Trickles over the back. Magpies should clean this one up. And they do. Inboard. Camrick the target, strong grab. Player in good form is Camrick, building year on year. He hands off with a long raking boot, looking in the Grace direction. Was he held?
Yep.
Yes, says the umpire. So Aidan Grace going to line up from point blank range. And you'd think regain the lead for the Magpies.
Yeah, that's disappointing from a Tigers perspective because dead in front, he shouldn't make any mistake from there.
I think what we're seeing there is Aidan Grace is getting opposition defenders a bit nervy, Brownie. He was quick to make contact there.
He's looked dangerous, hasn't he? Right from the beginning of the season. I think 3 or 4 goals in his debut for Glenorchy against Launceston in round 1. We saw him last week. He played really well against his old side. Always looked a threat.
Goal kicking threat for sure. And he shows it there. Makes no mistake. And Glenorchy regain the lead.
Yeah, he's going to be a handful, you'd think, throughout the season. And I think we mentioned in the call last week, Gilly, he looks like he's headed for a 50-goal season, albeit we're only a few rounds in. But seems to be fairly consistently kicking his 3 or 4. And I think that's number 14 for the season. Glenorchy didn't play last week, did they, with the bye, so they'll be fresh.
So back in the middle, Glenorchy 1-point leaders here. Ball goes up, Johnston and Duffy. That one favouring Johnston. Just gets the tap down, bounces back to the Glenorchy players though. Braden Webb drives the ball inside 50. Sam Reeves is up there, but the Tigers are able to rebound. Floating ball just outside defensive 50 as Kieran Lovell finds a team out wide. Drives down the line, and that one out of bounds on the full. So Glenorchy through Josh Arnold to bring the ball back in. Seems like an interesting sort of breeze for the players to deal with today. Very blustery conditions.
Always tricky to read
fluky,
the breeze,
isn't
I
it?
reckon.
Yep.
At KG5.
So Arnold goes down the line looking for Reeves. Kieran Lovell competing again there for the Tigers. He's wrapped up, just gets the handball away. He finds Dygan off to Marcus Davies with a bit of space. Shows a bit of dash there, does Davies, but the handball doesn't hit the target. Glenorchy players mopping this one up. Good bodywork again from the Tigers though. She's going to get a stoppage half forward. 7.5 minutes gone in this opening term.
Coach Trent Ballmer would be pretty happy with his start, Cam.
He would, because Glenorchy can pile on the goals very quickly.
Glenorchy moving the ball towards half forward again, looking for Reeves. Good work there from Reynolds. Kieran Lovell again going to mop this ball up, but that one goes out of bounds. So Lovell again getting plenty of the ball early. PK Paul Kennedy saying during the week that they wouldn't bother tagging him, just make their midfielders accountable, try and go head to head. Should be some really good midfield battles throughout the afternoon. Both teams with plenty of stars rolling through there.
Comes in again, Duffy down. Not a convincing hit out. The Tigers emerge, and again it's Lovell. We don't have the benefit of stats, but he's just Arnold's pretty much brought his own share into the footy today. Arnold now should mop things up across half back for Glenorchy. He picks out something he likes, and that's Braden Webb. Turns and moves. Good to see him fit, Braden Webb. Off for Duffy. Now across for Smith. His kick's not great. Should be mopped up by Reynolds. He's got strong pressure from Reeves, but it was illegal pressure, so it's going to go the way of young Micah Reynolds. Bring it out of defence. Of course, did a terrific defensive job last year on Mitch Thorpe. Too many have blunted his influence like he did on that day. It's gathered from Reardon. It was a good crumb, but the kick didn't match the crumb. Goes into the hands of Grant, who's operating down back by the looks.
Good switch.
He switches it up. It was terrific. Now the target is Bank Smith, who's got a little gap on his opponent. Just shrugs the tackle, gives him board to James Webb. He goes by hand. Now it's a snapping shot at goal, just short. Daly there with a crumb and a finish. He's expert in those areas. And another for Glenorchy.
Well, he was outstanding, wasn't he, last week? And already a good, well, I'll say 2 weeks ago, a really good start for him today. He's dangerous because he's not bad overhead, but he just reads it so well too. And a really good decision maker. And he's got good forward craft, hasn't he? We know he's a decorated player at SFL level. And he hits the scoreboard there.
We've really seen him play quite a few midfield minutes as well, Brownie. So he's a real versatile player that can roll through there as well.
And that's what you like about Glenorchy. And it's a different looking forward line, as we've mentioned this year. Jay Bowden playing a little bit deeper. They've got Grace in there. We've seen Reeves. Daly also spending a bit of time forward.
So back in the middle, Reeves competing with Johnston. Reeves wins that one down. Lockie Clifford mops it up. Bumbling ball towards half forward. Harrison Gunther mops it up well, but his handball only goes as far as Reardon. Some cries for holding the ball there for Reardon, but the ball continues to be tackled here at half forward. The umpire now blows his whistle, holding the ball in the way of the Magpies. So just assessing his options here. Like something out wide. Well executed. So the Magpies take it out the far wing. Again going towards forward 50, but Sam Rice just does enough to put the pressure on. The ball goes out of bounds.
Pretty underrated player, Gear, I reckon, for the Pies. Does a role for them most weeks.
Just waiting to see if it was actually commentary or the pre-game.
So Kieran Lovell again with the ball. Drives down the line, looking for Graham. He's got company, and that one rolls out of bounds. Looks like Michael Reynolds the job on Sam Reeves whenever he's drifted forward so far. So again, a big responsibility for him. Reeves, as you mentioned, Brownie, just part of a really dynamic forward line that they've got, the Magpies. He'll spend moments up there and potentially moments in defence as well. Play gets back underway on the wing. That man Reeves dishes the handball, but the umpire spotted a free kick. So, pretty stagnant in front of him here for the Magpies. Tries a short little kick looking for Reeves. Just takes the mark. Handballs it off. Misses the target though. The umpire again going to call a free kick here. Going the way of the Magpies. So, Glenorchy just starting to get repeat inside 50 entries now. Bank Smith goes inboard. Check side pass. A few bodies around there. Sam Reeves does the mopping up, dishes the handball off. The Tigers under immense pressure trying to get the ball out here. The umpire has said holding the ball. So free kick the way of Glenorchy. Really good tackle. He will be rewarded. Just take a look at the replay there. Really good tackle.
He's worked hard a couple of times defensively, Sam Rundle. As a junior, he actually played a fair bit of footy up forward. Always had really good hands. And he gets an opportunity here to hit the scoreboard. Played a few clubs now, TSL level, Sam Rundle.
Welcome addition to the Magpies in 2019. Sam Rundle makes his approach now.
It's fluky, that breeze, isn't it, boys?
Pick it up there.
Not going to be easy for anyone today with the set shot kicking.
So they'll bring it out of defence now. Griggs, the designated kicker. just shy of his intended target, which was Graham. He'll look to mop up as the breeze howls through the commentary position.
I reckon Kieran Lovell's probably had 7 or 8 touches already, boys. He's just reads it so well, doesn't he, off the hands. Here he goes again.
He does. Johnston brought it down and it was Lovell, but he was swung in a good tackle. It's out again. So Lovell making his presence known, that's for sure. A lot of the footy. Glenorchy with a slender advantage, 5 points. As it comes back in. Grand over the back. It's just whacked on the boot. Away it comes. The bouncing ball through the middle. It's Graham who eyed it off. They'll try and farm it out now, Glenorchy. They throw it on the boot. Mott now, usually good by foot, looking in the Bowden direction. Bowden bounces away from him. Just weasels his way out. A little kick inside is great for Reeves. Couldn't bring it down. Went with the chest mark. And invited a spoil. It'll be a stoppage inside 50.
One of the new players today, boys, I think it's just his second game for the Tigers, Alex Bessel. Keep your eye on him. He's really hard at the footy. Plays with great effort and endeavour.
So Reeves down. But away it comes, and guess who? Lovell, looking for his skipper and Rice. And they'll all crowd around and ensure a stoppage. It's James Webb underneath the pack. Said 5 points, so it's actually 8. Don't know what I was thinking there, as it's down from Duffy. Lovell again. He is everywhere at the moment. But had a Magpie riding shotgun, so stoppage quickly. Here he is again, hands it out. James Webb, though, picks it up. Met in a solid tackle.
And most of the time in the stoppages, he's sitting by himself, Lovell, so he's got a free rein, really, to read it off the hands.
You wonder how long they'll go head-to-head if he keeps having this influence. There's a good hit out by Johnston. There's one this time by James Webb. Finds Camrick with Braden Webb. Met in a good tackle. Back for James. He runs out of tarmac.
Just repeat stoppages out on that outer wing at the moment. Tigers just struggling to get the ball out of their defensive end of the ground at the moment.
It can get bogged down over that side of the ground, boys, particularly on a windy day like we've got today at KG5.
Duffy wins the tap down, looking for Webb. Meets Rice in a really strong tackle. Have another ball up. Yeah, Trent Baumel has spoken a lot about those younger players, Brownie. Alex Bessel being I know he's gone to Kieran Lovell a lot in intra-club games in the pre-season. Kieran Lovell said that this guy must be in the team. Tigers do well to get the ball out there. High ball up to half forward, looking for Carter, but Mickey Paul, Gilly's man.
There he is, Big Mickey. Not a great kick.
Not his best work, it must be said. Magpies mop up at half back. Again going down the line, but that ball holds up. Just beats Mickey Paul running towards the boundary.
It can turn around really quickly for a young player. Alex Bessel was actually just playing STJFL under 16s last year, so it's a quick rise for him to be playing at the elite competition in the state. But he'll give great effort today.
So Duffy and Johnston competing here. Duffy just wins that one down, tapping over the back, but Lockie Clifford does well to mop it up. He finds Lovell, who finds Lockie Griggs. Griggs down the line, looking for Tyler Carter. That one rolls out of bounds. It's good to see Lockie Clifford back, playing footy again.
Yeah, look, he had a really good season at under 18 level, didn't he, Gilly? And, maybe just lacked a yard of pace to go to the next level, but gee, he could find the footy and can push forward and kick goals too.
Yeah, he's a good player, Clifford. Over the back now, it's Lovell again. He's had his own footy. They'll bring it inside 50, the Tigers, but unfortunately lands in the arms of Black and White, and they'll move it out of defence through Arnold. Done well just to stymie them for a second here. Eventually it'll come out off the boot of Butterworth. He finds Roberts. Roberts presents up well. On the far wing here at KG5, looks in the Bowden direction.
Yeah, just a bit untidy, the defensive effort there.
Came over the top to McCulloch, but just collected a little too much Jay Bowden for the umpire's liking. So it'll be a Bowden ball. Already getting busy as the champ.
He looked like he was ready to balk then, and go on a bit of a
We've
run.
seen Glenorchy do this a bit on the mark. Mott went to provide the shepherd. Play goes on anyhow. And then it comes off. Bowden Reeves almost brings it down. Second time he's opted for the chesty. Goes in the Rundle direction. Tries to gather, couldn't quite. Swinging in a tackle. Daly at the fall. Camerick. He hasn't. He's missed.
It's good hands again, wasn't it, from Daly? It's a fluky ball when it sits up into that win inside the forward 50 left of screen too, boys.
Lockie Griggs brings the ball back in for the Tigers.
Good kick.
Finds his namesake in Watt. Watt decides to play on. Doesn't have much to kick to. Just dribbling kick to Bessel. He's put under the pump. Met hard there by Geared, but Bessel does just enough as Lockie Watt and Ryan Matthews come in. Be a free kick going the way of Griggs. Again, just wanting to play on nice and quickly. It's the left footer. Drives the ball inside 50, but over the top of Mickey Paul's head. Jay Bowden mops up for the Magpies in defence.
It's a great
Wonderful
kick.
kick. That is a fantastic kick from Jay Bowden. The Magpies are on here through the middle of the ground. Finds Adam Roberts on the outer side. He drives the ball inside 50 looking for Callan Daly. Blake McCulloch in pursuit, but that ball rolls out of bounds.
Both teams with this swirling breeze just having trouble with the connection with that inside 50 kick. We've seen quite a few inside 50s for both teams, predominantly Glenorchy I would have thought, but at the moment both teams just struggling to hit up a leading target. 20-minute mark of the first quarter, just the 3 goals scored so far in the game.
Doesn't look like being a fast and free-flowing affair, it's fair to say, as we get a stoppage inside 50. They do well through hands. Glenorchy. Mott in the end just almost threw it out. Camerick swings a ball into the hot zone. It's just helped on its way, but kept alive well by Camerick. Again it comes, looking for a marker, and the marker is a Tiger in Griggs.
He's been really good, hasn't he, early?
Been good early, but that's ultimate mockers. Shocking kick. Reynolds now. And they've got themselves in a bit of a pickle there, the Tigers.
We wouldn't think it's going to be a long quarter.
No. Poland, it was trying to mop up there, so the ball will come in again. A lot of players crowded inside the arc. Grant tried to do something, not sure what the effort was in the end. Daly tackled Matthews without it. No whistle though. It's going to be another stoppage.
Probably from a Tigers perspective, boys, Trent Bormala, he'd be quite happy with this start, I would have thought, in the Tigers coach's box, because Glenorchy are a team that can really stamp their imprimatur on the game. We saw that 2 weeks ago.
So down for the Tigers. Matthews weasels his way out. Looking for Clifford. He couldn't quite gather. It comes back the way of Matthews. Farms out a nice handball. A good little shimmy and shake from McCulloch. They bring it out of defence, but it's all Glenorchy. It's on the chest of Aaron Brennan. So Brennan sees something ahead of the footy he likes, and that's Reeves. Reeves arrives, hands to it, but couldn't bring it down. Handball out the side from Salter. Kick inside 50 now, but it's caught from the Tigers. It's in the hands of Brady Rees. Looks like the wind is certainly swirling the way of Glenorchy, so could be a good result here for the Tigers as Dygan collects the footy on half back. Looks ahead, and what does he see? Looking in a pole direction, just the one clunker, doesn't bring it down, out it goes.
That's what it probably is at the moment, the last few minutes of this quarter, the Tigers, just to work their way up inside the forward 50, maybe hope to create a stoppage and score.
It's Gardner and Duffy. That one falls short. We'll just play on though through Matthews. He finds Sam Rice, his skipper, further back. Ball inboard looking for Marcus Davies.
Good switch.
Some experienced heads there for the Tigers. It was a good switch as he goes out wide. Picks up a teammate in Michael Reynolds. Not his best work, it must be said, looking for Rees. Good ball there to Kieran Lovell on the wing. So Lovell just assesses his options. Davies does some good shepherding there on the mark. So Lovell finds a bit of space. Drives the ball inside 50, looking for a target. Glenorchy players everywhere, but it's going to be a foot race at the back. Tyler Carter's there, but Lockie Watt will kick the goal for the Tigers. The Tigers get one back. And really should be said, reward for some hard work there.
It was, and we just saw a terrific shepherd. You called it. 2 Aussie by Marcus Davies, and it just allowed Kieran Lovell a little bit of time to run with the footy and get a deep inside forward 50 entry, and the Tigers were able to run onto it and kick a goal. And a really promising start for them. Just 3 points the margin deep into time on in the first quarter. But well done. It's great awareness from Davies to realise Lovell, a good user of the footy who likes to run and carry. He sensed that, put a block on, and gave his teammates some extra yardage. Well done.
Well, we saw right there what Lovell can do with time and space. You wonder whether Paul Kennedy will ask a job of one of his midfielders just to cut his influence. He's been enormous in this quarter, but they do lead the Magpies. And they'll bring it out through geared inside 50. They head, punch down well. They'll work it out through a web of handballs, which ends with Rice. A long kick onto the outer side, looking in the Johnston direction. He tracks down the footy, but he's brought down a good tackle. The ball trickles out though and invites Elijah Reardon. Comes out of his arms, and Glenorchy looked to bound away, but a good tackle by Rice ensures another stoppage. So far side of KG5, Anzac Day footy. It's a slender margin, only 4 goals kicked so far. 3-point lead to the Maggies, and it comes again. Duffy down. Braden Webb couldn't handle it. Coming through was Watt. He gets the handball out to Kieran Lovell. Delivers in the Paul direction, just shy of him. It's a good crumb from Clifford. He kicks into a vacant 50. Magpies lead the foot race. Banksmith, the ball bouncing towards goal. Banksmith tracks it down. Now he's got a problem on his hands. Goes one way, then the other, and then kicks straight to Mickey Paul.
That's great pressure again.
The pressure was applied in a big way by Patrick Kelly.
Second gamer.
Second game, exactly what Trent Bulmer would want from him. Here's Paul. He spots something up and spots it to perfection. There's Hugh Johnston.
Yeah, well done, young Kelly. Just put the pressure on then. Corralled Ryan Banksmith, who wanted to go one way and then backtracked, and Tigers had the numbers set up behind the footy. Now they get an opportunity here, potentially, to go in with a lead at quarter time.
Dying embers of the first term here at KG5. Anzac Day footy. Big opportunity for Hugh Johnston for the Tigers. Comes on in, leaves it hanging out wide to the right. Ball up for grabs. Lovell swung a couple of times and a good tackle in the end. There's crucial stuff on the last line from the Magpies, and exactly what you expect from Arnold.
Yeah, what a play this guy's been for a long period of time at TSL level. Mr. Reliable.
He measures the kick for McKnight. And away they go, the Magpies. They survive a scare. That's a shocking kick. Straight down the throat of Rice. So Sam Rice looks at a crowd of 50. You expect he'll head in the Paul direction. Instead, kicks it straight to the opposition. It'll be Smith for the Magpies.
Smith, risky ball into Arnold. Can't quite pull off the mark with Lockie Griggs in pursuit, but the Magpies just mop it up. Looking for Banks Smith, half-back. Good pressure there through the Tigers. Youngster there in Ben Donnelly. Plenty of bodies around this ball. The umpire blows his whistle.
Yeah, Glenorchy certainly not at their best, boys. The conditions have got something to say about that, I would have thought today, but they're obviously probably coming back from the bye. Look a little bit rusty at the moment for mine.
Gardner wins that ball down. Really well done there by Reynolds, but isn't able to actually pick up the football as Reeves immediately under pressure gets gang tackled. And that's holding the ball. Really good pressure there from the Tigers through Watt and Elijah Reardon. So Watt goes off to Griggs, who's had a lot of it in this opening term. Long ball inside 50. Again, just goes over the back of the pack. Sam Rice in pursuit. Luke Graham there as well. Out of bounds in the forward pocket.
Yeah, some of the defensive work from the Tigers over the last 5 or 10 minutes have been terrific and have really got them on top in this contest at the moment. They're winning a lot of the hard ball gets.
So there it is. Sorry, Aussie. Siren sounds on quarter one. Good term for the Tigers. They trail by just 3 points to Glenorchy. 2-3-15 Glenorchy. 2 straight 12. The Tigers. A really Really good quarter if you're a Tigers fan. Glenorchy, they got the early running cam round, and then the Tigers just reeled them in with some good defensive work. They certainly weathered the storm a little bit in the early part of that quarter, and then went down the other end and some nice passages of play.
Yeah, I thought their effort was terrific right from the word go, and they seemed to grind their way into the contest as the quarter went on, boys. And on the back of some really hard defensive efforts, and we saw and highlighted a couple of those to give their teammates some more opportunity and time with the ball. And I thought some of their tackling in the last 5 or 10 minutes was terrific, and probably Glenorchy weren't able to get some of that running going. And it's probably not going to be easy for Glenorchy. We know we've often waxed lyrical about how well they use the ball by foot in particular from half back, and they've got a lot of elite kicks of the footy. But it's probably not going to be the conditions today, and it might be winning dirty potentially for Glenorchy today. But the Tigers, they would be thrilled with this start, I would have thought. They had a fair bit of the play in the last 10 or 15 minutes, and we thought it would be a good audit for where this footy club is at. And Glenorchy, we know, in the top echelon of teams. And the Tigers, they could probably now go into quarter time with some real confidence and probably smell a potential upset coming here. And it's probably what the club is looking for in many respects, boys, to try and, really compete for long periods of time, and if not win against a team that's expected to feature prominently in the finals.
I think Trent Baumler in that first quarter huddle would be very, very happy with his charges, but they're in this game up to their eyeballs. I think that you're 100% right there, Cam Brown. I think they could be sensing an upset here. They've done all the right things, and it's hard to give a great sort of weather report on what the breeze is doing, but we sort of thought it was favouring the Glenorchy end of the ground out to the left of screen, but we're not 100% on that. I guess we'll get a decent gauge on that in the second quarter, but if that is the case, then you give a lot of kudos to Tigers and the way they sort of weathered the storm there and then made it count at the other end. Some terrific footy, and you can't really talk about that first quarter without talking in a big way about Kieran Lovell and his work around the source.
Yeah, they gave him a fair bit of latitude, didn't they, Aussie, around the contest, Glenorchy, so they're probably backing their own midfield, which is one of their strengths. But Lovell, he had plenty of time and space. In the Tigers, not only does he read it well off hands and he seems to react as quick as anyone from a stoppage situation, but also they're happy to give it to him as well and have him using it by foot or by hand. So I reckon he probably would have had 10 or 12 touches in that first quarter. So well done to the Tigers, because 2 weeks ago Glenorchy kicked 10 goals in the first quarter. Now it's different conditions today, we know that, but they can go in with some confidence into this second quarter. It's difficult, isn't it, with the breeze, boys? We saw a few hold up left of screen at times, some of those inside 50s, and a couple of the Tigers long inside 50 entries seemed to carry over the back a little bit. So the way the pie started with that first inside 50 entry, you just thought, gee, Glenorchy look like they're up and about rolling, but they haven't been able to get the game on their terms quite yet.
It's a 3-point lead for Glenorchy, 2-3-15, 2-0-12, so not much in it at all. Anzac Day footy, it's a blustery, strange old day in terms of conditions here at KG5, because it's quite nice in terms of temperature and the sun's out, but the wind is doing a lot. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the second stanza of this one. Tigers certainly arrive with the right frame of mind and attack on the footy. I've liked the game of Griggs so far as well.
He's been terrific.
He's an important player for them. He looks like the designated kicker for him. They look for him on the outside, and the long raking boot, I thought he's been good. Who else have you liked so far?
Yeah, I think that the two that you mentioned there, I thought Rice had his moments. What a good opportunistic goal in the first quarter. I think they always look good when Dygan's got the foot in his hands. I think he's a really good user. Matthews, I could probably, a still bit of upside, I think, in his game. So and I thought they held up pretty well across half-back too. Glenorchy seemed to have the majority of the inside 50 entries early. For the Pies, I thought Geard had a really good quarter for them too, setting up across half-back. Jay Bowden had a lot of the footy early on and looked like he was going to get amongst the goals, but it's probably not going to be an easy day for a marking forward, I wouldn't have thought today, boys, with this fluky breeze. So it might just be a grinding game for both teams, and expect players like Daly to perhaps bob up and kick their 3 or 4 throughout the game.
So we're not far at all from the second quarter. What are you expecting from the second term, Anthony Osborn? What do you reckon Paul Kennedy would be saying in there to his charges at that quarter time huddle?
Yeah, I think like Brownie just touched on before, I think those entries inside 50, probably the main thing they'll be looking at. They've had plenty of opportunities to move the ball inside 50 again. The conditions perhaps not helping, but quite a few balls either going over the head or falling short, so they'll probably just look to sharpen up in that area, with Reeves and Bowden presenting quite a lot in that opening term, just not quite able to pull off a lot of the marks. So they've got some really talented players down in there, but perhaps not giving them the best service so far. As you mentioned before, I think Trent Baumler would be really happy, and I think Blake McCulloch and the like have really stood up well across half-back in that opening term. They were really impressive in defence against Lauderdale a fortnight ago, with the Bombers really dominating general play in the Tigers' defence, just holding up well enough to keep them in, even with the hunt approaching the last quarter. But yeah, I think they've started really well here today, and they'll be hoping to extend that into the second term as well.
It looks like PK's keeping the Magpies a little bit longer. Tigers have broken away from their group.
Just a little tweet in on one of our stream links, Sam Siggins, who must be watching the stream, saying Lovell taking the P155 hashtag gun. And it's hard to disagree with Sammy Siggins, who of course will be in action on Saturday. That's a big clash, isn't it? Lauderdale and North Launceston down at Skybus Stadium or whatever they're running with at the moment. It's
well,
he's
two
right,
teams
though.
you'd expect to feature prominently towards the end of the season. I know it is, what are we up to, round 5, and we're already talking about teams that make the finals, but you think those two lists would give their respective teams every opportunity to go deep in September. But here we've got a real game, boys, which is terrific, and sometimes these sort of days can fluky wins and whatnot. Glenorchy coming off a bye, and the Tigers a 10-goal winner, probably go in with some real confidence, as we've mentioned. We've got some good leaders, the Tigers. I can, just watching off screen, Marcus Davies spending a lot of time with that defensive group. We know he's played at AFL level, been in the system there with Carlton, been back with the Tigers now for a few years, but he'd be one of the on-field coaches, I would have thought, for this team.
Then you got Lovell in the middle, so
That's right.
They've got that sort of AFL experience. They've got leaders. I think Mickey Paul, although he's only been there a short time and not of the AFL level, but he's a leader out there as well.
He is.
So you're right. They've got good leadership. I think there'd be sensing this is a real opportunity for them today. They've nailed the start. Second quarter is all important, and they've just got to start this term much like they finished the first. So about to get things underway. Second stanza, 3-point lead to the Maggies. And they'll go up and compete once more. It's Gardner. Again, looking to race onto it was Lovell. Instead, he provides the tackle this time. James Webb gets the kick away Glenorchy's way. Reeves tries to farm out the handball. Kick inboard comes to Braden Webb. Eyes goal. Gave it a good ride, but the woodwork denies him.
Yeah, and that's a key feature of his game, Braden Webb, is his ability to push forward and kick goals as a midfielder.
It's an outstanding clearance from Glenorchy and a quick one. Now it comes a defence now. Davies the target. Sat under it, took the mark.
Another good kick out, wasn't it, again?
So Davies looks ahead. He's got Paul offering. Miss hits the kick really. Jumping on top was Camrick. It's going to be a free kick again, so that's a bit of a reprieve. Watt feeds out to Clifford. Now out for Griggs, the designated kicker. Goes inside 50. Johnston the target. At the fall was Graham. He's a wily customer. Gets the kick into the right forward pocket. Looking to track it down was Lovell. The line beats everyone.
I just wonder whether James Webb may be the man to pick up Kieran Lovell for prolonged periods of this second quarter. He lined up on him at the first centre bounce, and I thought maybe he may get the job, but it looks like he's got responsibility for him here at this stoppage.
He's there with him now. It's off hands and it falls to Lovell. He shakes off the tackle.
He's got a free kick.
He's going to get a free kick. So Kieran Lovell is becoming more than a headache.
He's always at his best, been a terrific accumulator right throughout at under 18 level when he was drafted. Got a truckload of the footy and also played for the Tigers that year and won a lot of it. And he started that way and he's returned to TSL level in 2019.
So Lovell has been running hot, plenty of the footy. Can he hit the scoreboard? Kicked that one pretty poorly, but it looked like the wind did not help. Out to left, a minor score. They'll bring it out of defence now, Glenorchy.
Immediately under the pump there, other Magpies. Big Mickey Paul dishes it off to Tyler Carter. Finds Sam Rice in the pocket. Backs himself in, but under pressure. Out of bounds on the full.
Yeah, good tackle in the end from Adam Roberts there to bring about the turnover.
Dinky little kick there to Reece Mott. Not the 15 metres. Sam Rice pushes him out of bounds. So good result there for the Tigers. Making it difficult for the Magpies to get out of defensive 50.
He's had 2 or 3 kicks like that today, Liam Smith. Normally, that's a great feature of his game. So it tells you the conditions aren't easy for the players.
Ball in, falling short. Duffy gets a hand to it. Clifford at the foot of the pack here for the Tigers. Plenty of bodies around this one, and the umpire will take this ball back.
And from the Tigers' perspective, they would be pretty happy with the matchups on Grace and Bowden in particular. They haven't got away for them at this stage.
Ryan Matthews does the roving, unable to complete it though, but there will be a free kick here going the way of the Tigers.
Yeah, it was free off the ball.
So Ryan Matthews, mentioned probably not as prolific as he has been in that opening term. The real opportunity here, again, these conditions make it tough from that range. He makes his approach now. Ryan Matthews on staying left right from the get-go. So out of bounds on the full. Tigers with a couple of opportunities early in this second term.
Yeah, he'd love to add that part to his game, I reckon. Ryan Matthews, some goals just to complement his
out
inside
in the full,
footy.
that one. I tell you what, I thought they got hands to it. There was a kick massaged in by Arnold. It goes inside forward 50 now for the Tigers. Picking up was Carter. What can he do from this position? Shoves off one. Tyler Carter! Almost. Just the wrong side of the upright, a minor score.
Well, they've got it on their terms, really. Even the last 5 or 10 minutes of the first quarter and early stage of the second quarter, probably majority of it has been played in the Tigers' front half.
And it's nestled in that exact position, as you said, Brownie. Right now, there's a kick out from Arnold. No one made contact with, and it's bounced out of play, and it'll be thrown in, out of side. KG5. Plenty of numbers around the footy. Vacant 50 at the moment for the Magpies. Shows where the breeze is blowing. Kick inside 50 for the Tigers. Pull the target, couldn't bring it down. They try and keep it alive through Digan, but it's out of play, so it'll be thrown in.
Doesn't get out mark your boy, does he? He'll bring it to ground if he doesn't take the mark.
Not sure it's ever happened. Not sure it's ever happened. He'll be back in again. Duffy gets best position, taps down for his runners. Coming through was Paul. Just a little bump as the ball bounces over the line. 2-point lead for the Magpies, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, it just looks like it's going to be a low-scoring game, doesn't it, today? 10 or 12 goals might be enough for a winning team.
It's an arm wrestle, isn't it? Back in again. It's tapped down, but going nowhere fast. Off the hands of Gardner, that one.
So it looks like Tim Butterworth with the job on Paul at the moment. Brownie, how do you see that matchup with Butterworth?
Yeah, well, Paul might have him for strength. It looks like he's got a bit height-wise. Butterworth's a great competitor, isn't he? And he's been given responsibility before by his coach. Versatile player. We've seen him play forward at different stages of his career for Glenorchy.
Tell you what, space is going to be prime real estate on the ground today as Griggs picks it up and finds a little bit of that rare space, looking in the direction of Paul, but floating across for Smith. Smith measures a ball just short again for Mott. They're brought unstuck now, the Magpies. It's with Davies.
Oh, unlucky, I would have thought.
There's a whistle, so it's going to go against Davies, I think.
Yeah, holding on too long. It's going to go back to Sam Rundle.
So Rundle has the ball, defensive 50 for the Magpies. Goes for looking for Banks Smith out wide. Sam Rice does enough to cause the contest, and that ball through Donnelly, out of bounds. We'll have a throw in. Yeah, a couple of those kicks there from Liam Smith.
Jeez, it looks,
crucial positions, just not able to hit the target.
it looks hard to kick out there.
It does. It does.
So Gardner and Duffy once again. Duffy decisively looking for James Webb. Ryan Matthews in the way. His handball only as far as Banks Smith. Kieran Lovell again mops the ball up. Just has so much class. Dishes off to Davies. Bouncing ball towards 50, but Harrison Gunther mops up wonderfully. Looking for Mott. Met in a big tackle. We'll have another stoppage inside the centre square.
It's really hard for both teams, not only the conditions, but particularly when both sides are having trouble being clean below their knees, and you're relying on some of your better players, some of your better running players to find them time and space with the foot. It's not easy at the moment.
So down it comes. Banks Smith finds an outside runner in Camrick. He finds Jay Bowden, who somehow completes a mark.
It was a terrific mark. Don't underestimate that under immense pressure.
He lets this one hang up in the sky, and it's Reeves who contests well with Reynolds. Tackles him. But it's inside 50 for the Magpies, which is important.
It might be a day where you do, in the second half, play Jay a little bit more in the midfield with his creativity. He's always clean and smart by hand and foot. And perhaps he might be more value today up around the midfield.
So farmed out from Camrick. Looking to pick it up was Brennan. In the end, it was Kelly who grabbed it, and Brennan jumped on top of him, so a stoppage. And far from the boundary here, broadcast side at KG5. Duffy collides, brings it down, geared, tackled over the line by Lovell.
Well, we don't have the benefit of stats, boys, but I can't recall too many marks inside forward 50 for either team today. I reckon all the goals was Grace's from a free kick early in the first
Free
quarter.
kick, yeah.
So from a free kick, yeah. So yeah, it's a good call, Cam. Hit out was good from Duffy. It allowed James Webb some space to kick inside 50, looking for that man Grace. Couldn't track it down.
They're the ones that seem to be carrying a little bit right of screen. We saw the Tigers a couple of times attack from that side of the ground, and there was some space for players to run onto the loose ball.
You only have to look at the streamers on the broadcast side. They're going absolutely nuts here. So significant breeze, KG5. Climbing on top is James Webb, and there'll be another stoppage. And back again. This one's tapped down decisively from Reeves in the arms of Lovell, who's tackled. He does look to have Webb for company at the moment, Cam Brown.
Yeah, well, I think they had to react, didn't they, Glenorchy, because he was having a real influence on the contest, in and around, and on the outside as well.
Mind you, he's got some freedom on this one, as does Reese Mott, who swings a wild boot at it. Now it goes out on the full. It's going to be Lovell to bring the ball back into play.
So Kieran Lovell, another disposal for him, this time out of the back pocket. Just opts to go long and down the line. A booming kick there from Lovell. Wind certainly picked that one up. Beats everyone out the back. Butterworth's in pursuit for the Magpies, but Elijah Reardon mops up for the Tigers. Going towards the half-forward line. Lockie Watt is there for the Tigers. Tyler Carter going to ground, but Lockie Watt just does enough to compete again. Really good stuff there from Lockie Watt. Been rewarded with a free kick too. It was a 1-on-3 there at one point. Looks to bring the ball inside 50. Goes to the hot spot looking for Reardon, but that's going to be a free kick going the way of Harrison Gunther, maybe even paid as a mark. So Gunther starting to get a bit of the ball this quarter. So he brings it out to Reese Mott. Goes further out wide looking for McKnight. That one bounces out of bounds. Have a throw in. Chris McKnight playing his 100th game for the club today as well.
That's a classic example of the conditions Reece Mott. You know, 98%
yeah.
of the time he would hit that kick, and probably just needed to keep it. It's always easy from up in the commentary box, boys, but maybe keep it a little bit lower. The wind got hold of it and just pushed it out of reach for his Glenorchy teammate.
So it comes back in. Is it going to be pinged? Yes, it will. So go to Braden Webb. Reeves not wise to the situation, so the ball will eventually make its way back. It's a cagey old contest, this one.
Good word, cagey.
Stoppage heavy. And it's Braden Webb with ball in hand. And all the numbers pile forward again. He just chisels one. Made to look okay in the end by Geared. McKnight just shakes a tackle, kicks inside 50. Griggs sits under it and earns his side the ball. It's good. Bit of work from the youngster. Knew he was going to get hit.
Yeah, great call
there
Billy.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's courageous. Didn't know what was coming.
So Griggs looks ahead. Not a lot offering on. Matthews probably the best option, but he opts for Reardon, who half-heartedly attempted to bring it down. Good follow-up now for the Tigers. Crunching tackle from Banks Smith. It's going to be a stoppage.
He's competitive, Ryan Banks Smith, isn't he? In and under play, but works really hard when he hasn't got the footy.
So the ball will be thrown up just inside the boundary. Reeves gets best position and just taps it straight out. Not a huge margin for error back there, so it's Reeves up against Johnston. Where is Kieran Lovell? That's been the question around most of these stoppages. Tap down. Comes back down to Reeves in the end. Trying to just work his way through a couple of bodies was Matthews. Easier said than done. So another stoppage. Johnston over the back. Pretty clever little hit out. Invited in Clifford. He's crunched from both sides.
It's hard for any team to get a clear breakaway from what we've seen. As you mentioned, Gilly, a lot of stoppages in the first 50 minutes or so, first 40 minutes or so of this game.
The breeze is unpredictable too. Daly almost tries to just shovel it out. Now he's got a couple of Tigers to contend with, and one of them's Lovell. Lovell tried to pick it up, but it's Matthews who does in the end and is brought down in a Camrick tackle.
Oh dear.
Up it goes again. The breeze did something fierce to that. Kelly farmed it out and then received it back, swung in a good tackle, and yet another stoppage. So it's a messy old game, this one. Any team that manages to get a couple of goals run on is probably going to win it, as Lovell extracts it. McKnight has this on his own. Leads the foot race, looks to shake off a tackle. Unfortunately, he gives it to Matthews. Out the back, invites in big Mickey Paul, try to bustle through a couple. And then he climbs on top, the big fella. And guess what, fellas? Another stoppage.
Now, Trent Borman has spoken a lot about Mickey Paul competing at ground level as well. Really good evidence of that there. Never out of the contest. That ball goes up. Reeves decisively. Double fist on as far as Donnelly. He's wrapped up in a tackle. Ben Camrick throws it on the boot. It's a high ball down the line. Almost with the mark there, young Tiger, but Callan Daly does enough. Looks for Josh Grant. A foot race towards the forward pocket here. Glenorchy's attacking 50. That's going to be a push.
Yeah, it looked it.
A free kick going the way of the Tigers. Again, just really messy entries inside 50. As the Tigers bring it out. Looking for Gardner. Reeves.
Good mark.
Good grab from Gardner.
Gee, I reckon he was nearly off.
Yeah, it's probably lucky there for Marcus Gardner. Back in the TSL this year after a year in the Old Scholars. Down the line there for the Tigers. Smith, wrapped up in a big tackle was Webb by Mickey Paul. The umpire says that was high. Mickey Paul just being do a bit of attention now. Reece Mott with the ball. Some scuffles continue on the wing. Really good switch out to Jay Bowden. Unable to complete the mark, but he has acres of space. He goes towards half forward, but again, intercepted by the Tigers.
Well, that's something you don't see very often. Jay Bowden fumbled and then kicking to the opposition.
McCulloch tries to take on Ben Camrick. Just gets the ball away in time. Plenty of bodies around this football. McCulloch at the bottom of the pack. Another stoppage just outside Glenorchy's 50.
We're coming up to 20-minute mark of the second quarter. Still no goal scored. And really, not much opportunity for either side to hit the scoreboard.
Clifford tries to get it out of congestion. Goes straight back in. Eventually they'll get it out. So find a little bit of real estate on the outer side. It's a long kick. finds no one but the boundary line. As I said, Cam Brown, what are we, 16 and change in this quarter. And the outside of the Lovell shot on goal, no one's really looked like it. So ball back in again, this time far side KG5. The wind again does something strange to the footy. Bursting away was Rundle. He did well. His kick meant for Grace is out in the full. So
once you get on that far side of the ground, Gilly, it can be really hard to.
It seems like a lottery, doesn't it? Really,
it does. Watch his kick go back there again.
Geez, that picked up some steam. That kick, and with a juggle, Jay Bowden takes the grab. He looks inboard, and I'm not sure what happened to the ball then on its way. Roberts applying pressure. It's with the Tigers now. Clifford. They'll kick long inside 50. The target was Graham. It was a good leap, but at the fall of the ball, it was all the Magpies. Good forward pressure here. The Tigers have kept it in their forward 50. They climb on top. It'll be a stoppage. And that's good work to not let it out easy.
Great call, Gilly. Really good defensive pressure from the Tigers to give themselves an opportunity now from a stoppage situation. They'll try and look to manufacture something here.
So the ball up again. It's just a double fister down from Reeves. Camrick tries to just get it out of there, but it might be pinged for deliberate.
It is.
And it is. So that's probably as deliberate as it comes, to be honest. So the ball will be brought back in again. That far blustery side comes inside 50. Who can lay claim to it? Falls to the ground. Bowden, who tries to force out a kick. Mott does pretty well through hands. Coming on was Camrick. Trickles it along to himself. That's clever stuff if he's kept it alive. Couldn't quite. They'll be thrown in. Far side. KG5. As we tick into 19 minutes gone in the second quarter.
When was the last time we had a goalless quarter at TSL level?
That's
Billy?
a good question. And not one I have an answer to. So it's Gardner who brings it down. Camrick again just kicks for touch, but kicks too hard and out in the full. So,
gee, we've seen some play.
Geez, there's been
on that outer side.
There's been some errors on that outer side, and we know the footballers that are doing the work are far too good for the errors that are coming. So the conditions are pretty ordinary as it comes. More central this time. It is a good mark. So Glenorchy will be able to just cool the jets.
So good grab there. It's the ball again, pumped down the line. Contest forms. Aiden Grace is there for the Magpies, but the Tigers with enough reinforcements. Good tackle. The umpire says no. That was high. You go the way of that man again, Kieran Lovell. Don't know how many touches he's had. All reports he had early 40s last week against North Hobart. Certainly on track for that again today, you would have thought, as he goes down the line looking for Gardner. Reeves with the sit, unable to complete the mark, and the Magpies work it out through handball. Again, really good pressure here from the Tigers. Jay Bowden under the pump, just gets the snap away down the line. Lovell competing with Camrick. Ben Camrick does well to keep the ball in. Dishes the handball off to Mott. Mott goes to half forward looking for Braden Webb. Again, a rare foot error there from Reece Mott. The Tigers mop it up across half back, although may have spoken too soon. Aiden Grace with the ball, handballs it off, and the Magpies hit the scoreboard, do they? Yes, they do. Glenorchy with a goal there through Riley Oakley. We've waited a long time in this quarter for a goal, taken 21 minutes, but the Magpies hit the scoreboard.
He just wondered, like the response was interesting then from Glenorchy, that goal. Not a lot of players got around the people that were involved in that build-up. So maybe they're just a little bit flat too, but their energy levels look to be not what they normally are. Perhaps the conditions taking a little bit away from them, but it was a subdued reaction, I would have thought, from that goal.
Especially considering the way the game's playing out, and goals are a premium.
Yes.
So you'd expect pretty big celebrations. The first one for the quarter. And they're in the deep stages of the quarter, so that's well put, Brownie. Gunther races on just to make sure the 666 is all good. So ball back in the middle. Gardner and Duffy again. Bounce favours Duffy, and he taps straight down the throat of Daly. His handball doesn't find its target. It's ended up with Bowden. Measures a little ball. It's with Webb. Hands off to his brother in Braden. Eyes goal now from about 40. It's hung horribly out to the left, so we don't want to harp on about the conditions, but they're having a massive say on how this game is being played as the ball brought out defence again. Griggs was the target, got nowhere near him. Arnold couldn't track it down. Reardon now, probably clipped high. Managed to pick himself up, dust himself off and hand it off. Now with Watt, just gets his kick away. They'll move it through hands now. Kick inside 50 from young Bessel. Not bad for Graham. He does well to compete against a couple again. Graham whacks it on the boot, a bouncing ball, racing onto it was Dygan. Back it comes, Johnston eyeing it off. Tackle just near the last line. Terrific work from Luke Graham.
Was really good work, wasn't it? Got into his move early, and he's a dangerous player. We know he can kick goals. Good season last year. Well done too by young Bessel. A couple of touches there. Good for his confidence.
So ball up. This should be killed by the Magpies, and is.
I reckon we've probably only got another 90 seconds in this quarter, boys. It's the one goal scored.
What a strange game of football we're watching here. KG5, but a good contest nonetheless as Jay Bowden brings it out from full back, gives it a ride to Ruckman. Jewel for it. Out at the fall, the ball was Davies, but he was well worked off it in the end by Banks Smith. It's invited in a pair of Magpies. McKnight the ladder, picked it up and find Camrick. He's had a lot of the footy. He's looking for Daly, cut off by Rees. Rees now.
Good switch.
He switches it up and away they go. A little one from Bessel. Finds Davies. Maybe got just the sun in his eye. Comes to Paul. He tries to switch it up himself. McKnight ricochets off his knee. Comes back to him.
Well done.
Rees does well. Gets it on the half volley. Should track down his work. Quite smartly just soccers in the direction of Lovell. He gets round one. Makes a real meal of Camrick out there, I think it is, and measures a ball nicely for Ben Donnelly.
They're the sort of things that are important today. Young Rees attack of the footy, then another sock off the ground.
So Donnelly looking in the Paul direction over his head and into the arms of Arnold. So it's probably the smallest player in the contest and gobbles it up. He finds Smith. A bounce and a shepherd provided from Duffy allows him to kick in the direction of Reeves. Not sure it was meant to go there. Poland does well. Drops off for Rice and now Griggs, usually good by a foot, kicks it straight into I think it was Smith. Yeah, it was. Might have taken the wind out of his sails too. The ball will be thrown in, approaching, attacking 50 for the Tigers. Dying embers of this quarter.
Duffy decisively wins that one down. Callan Daly mops up very nicely. Some clean skills from him. He goes back to Arnold, to Camrick. Arnold gets the ball back and goes down the line, but again, not much to go to. Mark safely taken there by young McCulloch. He's had a fair bit of the ball, McCulloch. So he sends the ball back down the line. Harrison Gunther with the sit. Takes the mark, running back with the flight. He's going to look to switch here is Harrison Gunther. Risky ball inboard, but just does enough. Marcus Davies was there, but Josh Grant gets into a good position as the Magpies look to move the ball to half forward. Banks Smith out wide. It's Jay Bowden, sells a bit of candy, buys himself a bit of time, goes inboard. A really good mark taken by Sam Rice. Almost a slips catch there to cut them off. He goes up to Donnelly. Dying stages of this opening half. Donnelly down the line. Again, no real clear target. Plenty of bodies around this ball. Magpies trying to work it away. They do through Gunther. Gunther goes out wide to Mott. Dinky little kick there from Mott to Banks Smith. The Magpies again been able to get the ball out of trouble.
So Banks Smith looks ahead. Sees a crowded wing. Off hands, it's collected. And they'll work it out of traffic here, the Tigers. Just chipped along. Will be gathered by Bessel. He fights with his teammate for it. In the end, probably going to result in a stoppage. No, extracting it was Mott. He finds James Webb, sells some candy, looks further aboard, finds Grace. Grace turns and goes on the outside of his boot. He just kicks into the pocket. I think it was a mark in the finish. It was by Grant.
Well, we haven't seen too many marks inside 50. I think Grace might have taken one really early on in the game. Was it Grace or Bowden? I can't remember now. It's a long time ago, but we haven't had many. Difficult shot, it's got to be said here too.
And here we go. So Josh Grant, this would be massive if he could thread the needle. Must be said, difficult angle, difficult day for goal kicking.
We're going to do a good effort to score from here.
So Grant, deliberate approach. Oh, he's given that a good go. In the end, a minor score.
Looked in at one point, didn't it?
It did. And the umpires are just going to discuss here. So we'll just hold fire.
It's interesting. I wonder if they're discussing, did it actually go in? And then
I think they're going to declare it a minor score. But it was awfully close. He did a good job of it. Yeah, it's going to be...
Or is it no score?
Or no score.
I was right.
Well, there we go. I think it was no score. Very difficult one to read.
A difficult one to read this game too, boys, isn't it? From a tactical point of view, both teams really struggling to stamp their imprimatur from a game sense point of view. It's just become a grind in the way they've both gone about it. No time and space with the footy, unfortunately. Blustery conditions, making it really hard for the forwards for both teams. And we haven't seen any connectivity whatsoever with midfield to inside 50 entries. If there has been, it's been the opposition that have marked it inside defensive 50 for both teams. So just the one goal scored. From a Tigers perspective, though, they'll go in 9 points down and feel like they're really in this contest against one of the best teams in the competition. And it's been on the back of some really hard work and effort, the way they've gone about it today. From a Glenorchy point of view, trying to look from a positive sense, they haven't played anywhere near their best footy and they're still in front by 9 points. So you expect in the next hour that they will have periods of dominance. You would think there's enough class in this team. But whether or not they're able to capitalise with some really smart ball use and get some good forward 50 looks and scoreboard pressure on remains to be seen in what's been a very low-scoring, dour struggle today, boys.
Dour struggle is right. Just the one goal in that quarter coming from Oakley, and it could be a big goal in this game. 3-5-23, a 9-point lead for Glenorchy. 2-2-14 the Tigers. This game's not over. It's a fascinating struggle. It's a congested, contested game. Stay with us. We'll be back to the second half shortly.
Reese tries to find out a handball.
Kicking board comes to Braden Webb. Eyes goal. Gave it a good ride, but the woodwork denies him.
Yeah, and that's a stoppage.
He's there with him now. It's off hands and it falls to Lovell. He shakes off the tackle.
He's got a free kick.
He's going to get a free kick. So Kieran Lovell is becoming more than a hitter.
Approach now. Ryan Matthews. One staying left right from the get-go. So out of bounds on the full.
Tigers. Carter, what can he do from this position? Shoves off one. Tyler Carter! Almost. Just the wrong side of the upright. A minus.
I've spoken too soon. Aiden Grace with the ball. Handballs it off, and the Magpies hit the scoreboard, do they? Yes, they do. With Glenorchy with a goal there through Riley Oakley. We've waited a long time in this quarter for a goal.
We're nearing. Arnold couldn't track it down. Reardon now. Probably clipped high. Managed to pick himself up, dust himself off, and Graham whacks it on the boot. A bouncing ball racing onto it was Dygan. Back it comes. Johnston eyeing it off. Tackle just near the last line.
Young Reeves attack of the footy. Then another sock off the ground.
So Donnelly looking in the Paul direction over his head and into the arms of Arnold. So Grace turns and goes on the outside of his boot. He just kicks into the pocket. I think it was a mark in the finish. It was by Grant.
Oh,
So back for the second half here at KG5, and we just had a brief conversation, Cam Brown, with the coach of the Kingborough Tigers, Trent Bormala, and well, he pretty well echoed our sentiments at the close of that second quarter that this wind is causing all sorts of havoc on this contest.
And different pockets causing different things with the footy in the air, isn't it? Because one of the things Trent did say, in terms of which way the wind going, it's going travelling in different directions depending on where the footy's at in an area of the ground. So really fluky conditions, and going to be difficult, as we mentioned right from the outset, for forwards to take a mark and then convert inside 50. So we'll start again. The Tigers, though, they'll be bullish about their chances. 8 points down at the half. And we're coming off the back of a quarter where just one goal was scored. It was a subdued response at that, wasn't it? From Glenorchy.
It's a funny old game, this one. What do you think a winning score is? We said here at half time it's 3-5 plays 2-3. What's a winning score?
I think anywhere between 8 to 10 goals probably gets it done today. It's just really difficult. Both teams were pretty well set up behind the footy to intercept mark, in particular if the opposition did get some inside 50 entries. But we saw Braden Webb at one stage break the 50 in a goal he would normally kick, but the wind just took that to the left. Some of the elite ball users in the competition today have struggled by foot.
The one that hasn't struggled is Kieran Lowell. Interesting to see how he goes in this second half. And bounce down and we're underway. Comes to Braden Webb and he swings Glenorchy straight inside 50. Looking for Aidan Grace, fisted away at the crucial moment. Tigers with the numbers now. Clifford tries to bring it under his spell. Pressure applied by Mott. Braden Webb loses it, applies a tackle. Mott now. And again, a stoppage. Approaching 50-metre arc. Right into the ground for Glenorchy. The wind howling. And as we said, different pockets doing different things. So makes it very hard to predict what's going to happen as the ball's inside 50 again. Callan Daly at the fall of it, couldn't quite crumb it. Trying to get it out of there was Lovell. Manages to get a handball out. Swinging over the top looking for Dygan was Clifford. Here is Dygan. Did pretty well, but his kick's a shocker. Straight down the throat of Butterworth. Nudges one inboard. Straight to Watt. So Watt now gets by a couple. Clifford on.
Good kick.
Good kick indeed. Finds Dygan. Hands off. Bessel. Looking for Tyler Carter. The wind has done something crazy to that. Carter picks it up. He looks to throw on the boot and maybe should have opted for a handball out the back. Holding the footy. Looking for Tyler Carter deep in defence. The wind has done. We just saw the replay.
Yeah, that's when you needed Kieran Lovell to be running onto that one.
The ball comes out of defence now. And we see it again on that far side. The breeze is howling left of screen. This is an outrageous game in terms of the weather. Your guess is as good as ours in terms of what is happening out there.
Tough day for the votes too, Gilly. We're on your rotation. Oh, you're not going to handball it.
I think it's Anthony Osborn today.
Yeah, he's just giving me the handball action there as well. As that ball comes back in, the Tigers, look at that. That ball is just boomerang back towards where it came, but a good mark in the end taken by Dygan. Goes down the line. Again, the ball getting caught up in the breeze. Players really struggling to read, but the class there from Paul, but his handball doesn't hit the target as Glenorchy bound towards half forward. Brady Rees applies the pressure after the bounce went astray, but that's been called as holding the man. So a free kick going back the way of Glenorchy.
He got a little bit lucky there, James Webb.
He did. He didn't want to kick it because Tigers had two numbers back on their own in defensive 50, so he knew if he blazed away. That's why he held on to the footy. Got the free kick. He's got Reeves working hard for him.
Decides to bomb it in long, does James Webb. Some Tiger players there. Callan Daly at the back, and he gets his second. Again, we just see the ball going further than anyone anticipated. And Callan Daly in the right spot at the right time. He was not going to make a mistake from there.
Well, the ball just carried, didn't it, over the back. And they're the type of goals that you'd think we're going to see a bit of in the second half. Just opportunistic, fluky, reading the conditions quicker than your opponent, and that's what Callan Daly did. Becomes the first multiple goal kicker on the ground today with 2. And they're a rare commodity at the moment. Goals, I mean. And a handy break, isn't it?
Yeah,
Game high,
it is a handy
14-point lead for the Pies.
Well, when you consider Tigers are only on 14 points in terms of a lead is significant.
No doubt.
So back in the middle again. Callan Daly with his second and Pies with the break. Webb now does well. Picks it up. Jigs and then just kicks it out onto the wing. Will be the goal kicker in Oakley. Finds his target in Camrick. Doesn't go for Geared in the end. Looks inside. That's not a bad kick. Salter over the back.
Bowden
does well to provide a shepherd for Bowden on the outside of his boot. Has he threaded the needle? He has.
No worries with the conditions there, boys.
So back-to-back goals for the Magpies, and they are really charging ahead. It's going to be tricky for the Tigers.
Well, he made that look easy. Great skill, but he had some space to run onto that open ball. Again, it seemed to carry over the back, and when you give him an opportunity inside forward 50, 98% of the time he kicks a goal. And some danger signs now for the Tigers. This one skipped out to a 20-point lead. They need to respond here. There's Glenorchy, the perfect start for them to start the third quarter, Oz.
Absolutely. Good couple of minutes for James Webb as well, getting his hands on the footy. One of the more underrated players in the comp. So we go back to the middle. The Tigers with some work to do. 20 points adrift early in this second half. That bounce will be recalled. Again,
Which ironically, we haven't had many bounces recalled today, have we?
No, given the conditions.
Normally.
You'd be all over it if they were, I think, Gilly. That ball comes down. Camrick just dishes the handball out, but only as far as his Tigers opponent. Kieran Lovell wrapped up in a good tackle, but just as able to break free. Once Donnelly goes inside 50 looking for Watt. Almost takes the mark, sorry, does Luke Graham. That ball goes out of bounds in the forward pocket for the Tigers.
He's crafty, Graham Brownie.
He is. He's got great footy intelligence in that inside 50 area of the ground. Nearly a 30-goal year, wasn't it, for him last year? In a team that didn't win a lot of games. It was a great individual effort. And he's probably one player the Tigers need to hit the scoreboard in the second half.
So down it goes. No one can really lay claim to it. In the end, Duffy. Again, it's this rolling maul. Not pretty footy. It's a 20-point lead for the Magpies. Very, very handy buffer. Down off hands. It's gathered by Braden Webb. Comes out of defence now.
Oh,
Tavius Grace, who gets and goes. Measures a ball and it's a good one. Finds Bank Smith in the bullseye. Just chips over the top. Finds Salter. They're on top here. The Magpies switching out to Rundle. He's got an ally in Mott who eyes goals. Look to swing it back from left to right. Doesn't get enough on it.
Well, that was probably some of the better ball use we've seen for the game. Glenorchy, Tigers again had numbers back behind the footy, so that's why you saw players lower their eyes and hit a short target, and they worked their way up. And Reece Mott had a good look at it, and unfortunately missed to the near side.
So Lockie Griggs brings the ball back in for the Tigers. He's done so often today. Again, that ball just gets held up, but Blake McCulloch, the right spot to take the mark. He just assesses his options from half back. Marcus Davies
Well done.
takes the mark and goes. Really good work from Davies, but the handball not quite on there from Kelly. Johnston under lots of pressure, just gets the handball away to Watt. He finds Lovell, wrapped up by Geared. Again, just too strong is Kieran Lovell. Gets the ball out. Lockie Watt mops it up once again. Looks for Matthews. Matthews to Davies. Starting to get his hands on the football is Marcus Davies. Luke Graham out the back here, under pressure, but does well. Maintains possession, looks for Carter. Very high bump off the ball. The umpire not interested. Tyler Carter still down. Luke Graham with the ball in his hands as the ball approaches the boundary line, but Tyler Carter copped a really heavy blow there. Very slow getting back to his feet.
He's still down. To see a replay. Have a look here, guys. Carter comes in. Butterworth. Oh, yep. That'll leave a mark.
Yep.
Get some attention, you'd think.
I thought Gordon might have been an come back to that, sorry boys.
No worries at all.
Graham, I was going to say. Sorry, I thought he was an opportunistic chance there over the back on the ball that might have carried.
Yeah, bit of attention between Carter and Butterworth.
It's going to be a free kick to Tyler Carter. He's been clipped high in that one.
Probably earned it.
He's worn one in a bump. Hands off to Kieran Lovell. Lovell gives it a ride. Comes long towards the square. Numbers with Glenorchy. And it's a good deep mark by Gunther. Gunther now.
Yeah, it's a good mark again overhead.
Kicks it to Kieran Lovell, who's had a lot of the footy.
They're going to try
hands.
and block him here. He wants to play on Lovell. Watch for the Shepherd.
So Davies trying to apply a Shepherd. In the end does. Lovell gives it a ride. Long and strong and in the square. Falls now for Johnston. Tries to wrestle his way through a couple. There'll be a stoppage.
A couple of times this quarter he's been tackled, Kieran Lovell, but he just doesn't panic. He's prepared to ride it out. Doesn't give an errant handball.
Strong through the hips, isn't he?
Yes.
So down again. Numbers with Glenorchy. It falls for Mott. It wasn't clean. Great tackle by Reardon. That might be ball. It is. Really good stuff from Elijah Reardon. We'll see this again. Just very casual, I think, Mott. Didn't know the pressure was coming, and in the end, brought unstuck.
He might have been just looking for the boundary line there. And Reardon with great closing speed.
Reardon offered one step. That is an absolute shocker. So he's brought his good work undone with one of the more casual stinkers.
It's just about to talk him up again after that tackle as well, Gilly. But
I think it's bounced. That's the only good thing about that kick.
Gee, it's crowded in the front half here for the Tigers. Around about 30 players all inside the forward 50 for them.
So it'll come in again. What a strange moment of footy that was. There's a whistle.
Well, it's a free kick to the Tigers, is it?
It's going the way
Lovell.
of Kieran Lovell. Receiving close attention now. Lovell had a set shot left of screen last quarter. And
where do you start it, boys? Maybe it's a little to the right. They often have been doing a bit of work late to the left. These
reckon
kicks.
You're right, Brownie. He's going to have to hang it out to the right a bit. He threads the needle. Didn't look like missing, to be honest. Struck it nicely straight through the middle. So good reward now for the Tigers, and they edge back into the contest. 3-3-21 plays 5-6-36. Kieran Lovell kicks another. That's his second for the game to go with a swag of touches.
He made it look easy, didn't he? And he's had a good start to the quarter. We mentioned just his work around the stoppages and his ability not to panic when he is under pressure. And a neat finish there. Didn't see what the free kick was for, boys. Obviously, that's almost perceived pressure that's been built up over the course of this game because he's done such work around the stoppages. And there, Glenorchy player infringed off the ball, and he made no mistake.
back in the middle. Duffy just wins that one down. Tigers in pursuit. Kieran Lovell again with the ball. Tries to find Gardner. Just misses the target, but the big man does well. Questions being asked, but the umpire will take this one in the centre square. It's just so strong, Kieran Lovell. You mentioned before, Brownie, really, our opposition sides find it very difficult to bring him to ground. If they do, he often still gets back up. Gardner slaps that one back, only as far as Callan Daly, who dishes off to Jay Bowden, fires a goal and just misses it to the left-hand side. So some quick movement there from the Magpies.
Davies is going to play on.
Davies brings the ball back in, opts to handball, finds Poland. Poland just working with some space, runs a long way without bouncing the ball down. Just Will Poland drives the ball out of defensive 50. Donnelly outside of the boot, again gets caught up in the breeze, looking for Bessel. Just rolls that one out of bounds.
That's a shame because they were way there, the Tigers, and it was a bit of bold play, wasn't it, from the kick out from Davies and Poland, who took them on, took a risk, and all of a sudden the Tigers are up in their half of the ground, but unfortunately the kick from Donnelly missed the target there because Bessel had some time and space.
Just looked lively, Alex Bessel. times today. As that ball comes in, Magpies win the clearance. Going towards half forward. Target's there. Reeves competing for the Magpies, but the Tigers are able to get it out again. Donnelly starting to get his hands on the football. Lockie Griggs floating there as well. Umpire decides to let that one go. I thought we were about to have another stoppage, but Camrick emerges with the football. Lovell in pursuit for the Tigers. He's brought to ground, and another throw in out of side of KG5.
Next goal, all important in this contest. We've only had 8 for the day. If Tigers can kick the next one, they're every shot in this. Back-to-back goals from Glenorchy earlier on in this quarter. Something we haven't seen so far in this game. Camrick, little one inside now for Roberts. They get an opportunity, Glenorchy. Maybe just caught napping there, the Tigers in defence. Fair bit of space on his opponent. Did young Adam Roberts.
And we have seen him kick goals in his career for the Magpies. Not too many marks inside 50 today. A rare opportunity.
So Roberts now starts his approach.
Good kick.
Good kick. He likes it. And so did Glenorchy. So another for them. Roberts on the board. And the Magpies flexing their muscle in the third quarter.
Yeah, he made good connection, didn't he, with a set shot, where a lot of people have had difficulty today in those situations, but no mistake. Back out to a 22-point margin now. It's going to be difficult for the Tigers from here, you sense, just because of, as we mentioned, the conditions. But we've seen such low scoring throughout the game today, albeit the game has opened up a little bit from a scoring perspective in this third quarter.
Well, they're going to have to get a serious run on, aren't they, Brownie, if they...
You just wonder where the goals are going to come from too, Gilly.
Well, Mickey Paul, my man, he's been rather subdued, and I hate to say it, Brownie, that was a poor bounce. So we'll have another go of things in the middle. But yeah, Mickey Paul, not a day for the
No, I was going to say the same thing.
Forwards.
It's a stinker of a day for them in terms of the conditions playing a part and how they'd like to go about things for their team.
So Camrick gets a handball out. Good quick hands from Donnelly. And inside 50 from Matthews. There he is! There he is, Brownie!
He responded.
Big Mickey Paul! Straight on the big barrel chest. And he'll go back and look to thread the needle and keep the Tigers in it.
Well, he's done a pretty good job, hasn't he, Butterworth, in some of the one-on-ones, but he just protected the drop zone there, used all of his experience. Be great for his team if he can convert from this situation.
And Mickey Paul, a big figure inside 50 for the Tigers.
Oh, great
Looks
kick.
very good. So there's a heartbeat still there for the Kingborough Tigers as Mickey Paul sinks one.
Yeah, well, that's what they've got him across to do, haven't they, the Tigers this year. He's going to roll up into the ruck now and compete in there. It's such a big body and a big presence. And a nice set shot for goal too. He actually started a little bit to the right, allowed for it to swing. And we've seen a couple of good set shots for goal now, Oz, in this third quarter.
Absolutely, and it looks like Mickey Paul's going in as an on-baller here.
Oh, I love this.
Damian Gill is very, very excited, it must be said.
Watch him just run through someone here.
So Hugh Johnston competing in the ruck. Mickey Paul joining the Tigers midfield brigade.
That's a good move, I think, just to mix it up a little bit in there.
And Trent Baumler's been very happy to throw different players through the midfield. This one, though, going the way of the Magpies. Hack kick inside 50.
Well
a really good mark taken there by young Ben Graham. Late inclusion today for Bailey Gordon. He's been called up for Devils duties.
Here he is. He's starting to just heat up a little. Big Mick.
Right on cue, Mickey Paul. Pumps that ball down the line looking for Reardon. Again, the ball falling short, but a good mark taken in the end by Elijah. Looks to go.
What's
not
that
a great
done?
kick there from Reardon.
It's
just
going
going
to
work out here for the Tigers. They bring the ball inside 50. Not a great effort. Mopped up by Smith. He bangs it on the boot. Up the wing. Marcus Davies will do the mopping up. As reinforcements as the Tigers just work their way out of this one. Brody Rees back to Marcus Davies. Under pressure is Davies. Good tackle laid, and the umpire says that's holding the ball. Yeah. So Glenorchy rewarded for some good tackle pressure there.
Great tackle from Jay Bowden. Davies a class player. But he brought him down there. Great defensive effort.
High kick inside 50 from Bowden. Aiden Grace with the flight. Almost receives the handball, but just goes through his hands. Tigers throwing themselves into this contest. The umpire will take that one. Will have a ball up. Forward pocket for Glenorchy.
Yeah, Glenorchy would love to get this game out beyond 30 points, I would have thought. In comparison to Tigers, if they can go in with perhaps a 10-point margin at three-quarter time, they'll give themselves a chance.
So down it goes. Tigers out the back. They just can't farm it out to get out of danger here. So it's in the right areas for the Magpies as we tick into 19 minutes gone in this third quarter. Game sprung to life a little bit in this term. After a real dour second quarter. It comes to Daly. Manufactures a shot. But it's trickled out and it'll be a throw in. So still right forward pocket for the Magpies. They lead. Healthy margin. Back in it comes. Duffy down. A good tap over the back, but Tigers bearing down from both sides. Rees providing good tackle pressure there on Camrick, the ball carrier. Another ball up. So 6-7-43 plays 4-3-27. Game still up for grabs. The next goal, all important, is Matthews.
In the back.
He is impeded. He's called high in the finish. It's Camrick who's chasing down Matthews. Long. It's held up in the wind. Paul comes to provide a contest. Numbers everywhere for both sides. It was Graham who tried to find Reardon, couldn't quite. Banksmith almost. In the end gets to Duffy rather. Comes in off the boot of James Webb. Bouncing, eludes many, but not Reynolds. Gets a kick out. Digan on the half volley.
Yes.
Has an ally there in the late inclusion, Ben Graham. Gets a kick down there. Little handball. Now for Reardon. He's tackled over the line by James Webb.
Yeah, important 5 minutes coming up here, boys, as we approach three-quarter time. 16 points the margin. A goal either side here for each team will be invaluable going into three-quarter time.
So Gardner and Duffy to duel again. Duffy wins that one down. Straight to Geared. Under pressure with the handball. He does find Camrick. Glenorchy go down the line, but that one out of bounds. Again, repeat stoppages in the story of the game so far. 21 minutes gone in this third term. Glenorchy with a handy buffer. Ball comes back in. Gardner wins that one down, but only as far as Geared. Good tackle laid by Matthews. Arnold picks the ball up, bangs it on the boot. As Glenorchy move forward. That one. Again, ball taken. Opts not to play on. Looking inside 50 for Roberts. Salter's there as well. Sam Rice does the roving. He's tackled as he tries to handball as Daly's put under the pump. High the call from the umpire. So a free kick going the way of the Tigers. Sloppy there from Callan Daly. Just assessing the options here of the Tigers. Opts to go down the line looking for Gardner. Taps it down. Finds Donnelly. Donnelly under the pump. Digan's there as well for the Tigers. Ben Camrick prevails with the ball. Robes his own football as he gets some move. Gets a bit of a move on into some space. Does Camrick going forward. And a great grab taken by Aiden Grace. Really good mark. Will Poland's done a good job on him so far today, but Ben Camrick able to find some space and just allowing Aiden Grace to do what he does best.
Yeah, great call, Aussie. Really strong. He worked his way to the front, didn't he, Aiden Grace? Smart play by Camrick. He won the footy, didn't panic, lowered his eyes, and waited for an opportunity. And in the end, it was Grace who came up, led up at him.
So Aiden Grace, some hot goal kicking form so far this season. And that is a wonderful kick from Aiden Grace on a day where goals have come at a premium and it's been tough set shot conditions. Aiden Grace with no mistake there. He hits the scoreboard and the Magpies edge further ahead.
Yeah, well, 2 goals for him, which is invaluable on a day like today. Gets that margin out from the Tigers to 22 points. Nearly a game high, I would have thought, Gilly. It's going to be difficult here. The Tigers will have to double their score if they're going to win this game. So they probably need to try and peg one back before three-quarter time. But great play by Cameron. He's a much improved player. Busy, makes good decisions, competes hard, good at ground level, and becoming a very consistent player for Paul Kennedy's team.
Absolutely is. It's bounced again. Emerging was Geared. He finds Rundle. Oh, Grace doing what few have been able to today. Takes a good mark on the painted 50 and chisels one for Daly.
And that is going to be a difficult shot from there, I would have thought, boys.
His best kick. He doesn't look too keen to take on the set shot.
No, I think he looked to just set it up.
Just dabs one for Camrick. Outstretched arms, but this will still take a good kick. When we're talking about Ben Camrick now, he was Anthony Osborn's tip for the medal. He'd be in the mix. You'd say Kieran Lovell probably clubhouse leader, but Ben Camrick not far behind, been very good.
He's good a couple of weeks ago too against Clarence. As you mentioned, he's become a really consistent player.
So hugging the boundary, Ben Camrick has to just thread the needle. What can he do? Wasn't happy with it the moment he struck it. There's good reason. Doesn't even trouble the scorers. So come out of defence again, and it's Griggs. So a bit of a let off for the Tigers. They need to probably get a goal this quarter, you sense. Kick long onto the outer wing. Well gathered by Rundle. Swung back in from Bowden. Just kick and hope.
Oh, he just read that.
Tell you what, he read that better than anyone else.
He was on the move, wasn't he? He sensed that one was going to drop a little bit short, and he made his run, didn't he, from 10, 15 metres back. And in the end, it was an uncontested chest mark.
Just got good separation, and as you said, Brownie read the fall of the ball terrifically well, and Aidan Grace is just making himself a little bit of a game breaker here. Aidan Grace, fine goal kicking form. Doesn't quite live up to that form. Another out in the full, so goal kicking certainly from that far side looks very, very tricky.
The difficult thing now for the Tigers is to get it out of their defensive 50, because as is the way in modern footy, the opposition press up hard.
They need a mark, don't they, as Griggs brings it out of defence. That'll help get it to Kieran Lovell. He kicks down the wing and it's helped out. So they've ticked that box, Brownie.
They have.
Next one is try and somehow manufacture a kick inside forward 50 and somehow get a goal. It's been very, very tricky, especially on that far side as the ball comes back in again. Shallow throw. Lovell there, picks it up, but he's tackled. Rare time, just ran out of time. Ball down the line, but it's all Magpies, and it's straight on the chest of Jay Bowden, who sort of just floated in and out everywhere. Fair bit behind the ball as he kicks for touch. Rees drops a mark he should have taken and try and farm out the ball. Lovell there again. Picking up was Clifford. It's good hands, and here is Lovell. Finds some space. Now running through the middle of KG5, Kieran Lovell. Runs out of options in the end. Has to just drop it off. He had nothing to kick to.
No, you're right.
Swung back by Oakley. Clifford couldn't bring it down. Griggs now just kicks on the outer side, but it's Josh Grant. And just Josh Grant. He's all on his own. So Grant tried to find
Lovell free again.
Someone inside for Lovell, as you called, Brownie. So Lovell, what's he got? There is not much on at all. He's only really got Graham to kick to, and he looks to head in that direction. Paul does his best to provide a contest, but there's way too much black and white, not enough yellow and black, as Smith brings it out of defence, and again we see the wind pick it up and take it on that outer side.
I don't think there's going to be a lot left in this quarter, Aussie. We've ticked up to the 28-minute mark.
Yeah, won't be long to go now. Again, good mark there by Liam Smith. Conditions have plagued his kicking today, it must be said. This ball comes back in. Gardner and Duffy. Gardner wins that one down. picks up his own ball, only as far as Rundle. Rundle goes backwards to Gunther. Goes down the line looking for Reeves. Heavy collision there. Lockie Griggs mops up for the Tigers. Just a messy old football out there on the outer wing. The umpire says that was a push in the back, so a free kick going the way of Blake McCulloch. Had some nice moments today as McCulloch.
Done some nice things.
Goes down the line. And out of bounds, Harrison Gunther just getting his hands on the football.
And that's where it's got hard for both teams when play's been on that outer side of the ground. Just to be able to get it inboard through the corridor has been difficult.
Had many stoppages right in that area of the ground. Duffy decisively wins that one down, but Kieran Lovell is in pursuit of the football. Only goes as far as Rundle. Rundle's starting to get himself into the game as well. The umpire's going to call that as holding the man. So free kick going the way of Glenorchy. Stops and props, buys a bit of time. Over the top, finds Reece Mott on the paint of 50. He opts to play on.
What's happened there?
He's caught high. I thought he actually might have been tripped as opposed to being high, but he goes inboards to Ryan Banks-Smith, who will now have a set shot on goal. Dying stages of this third quarter.
Yeah, Trent Baumler, he would be disappointed there, I would have thought. That's the second time that Glenorchy have been able to look inboard and find a target, pretty much unattended.
This would take a very good kick, though, judging off the last couple of set shots on that side of the ground. Anthony Osborn, and the siren wouldn't be far away either.
Absolutely. So Ryan Banks-Smith starts his approach now. Back in this Glenorchy side. Fairly good effort there from Ryan Banks-Smith, and it's just made the distance, I think. Yes, it has. Thought it might have just fallen short with Marcus Gardner on the goal line, but Banks-Smith just gets enough on it. And just as you say, that's a very difficult set shot. Ryan Banks-Smith has done a fantastic job of it.
And he has shown throughout his career that he can push forward and kick goals, Ryan Banks-Smith. And that was a neat finish. We've seen a few good finishes from set shots in this third quarter, been one of the highlights. As Glenorchy get this one out to 28 points, going to be really difficult now for the Tigers. Getting very dark here too, boys, as we approach three-quarter time. But they've just made the most of some of their inside 50 entries this quarter, Glenorchy. They've kicked accurately for goal when they have had that opportunity.
It's just about curtains, I reckon, Brownie. So the ball's bounced down. Probably should have been recalled, but in the end, they'll work their way out through Garner, who finds Clifford, tries to shake off a couple in the end, can't shake off Mott. The ball squirts out, and the siren sounds. So Glenorchy stamp their authority in that third quarter and open up a very healthy lead in a low-scoring affair. 8 goals, 7-55, leads 4 goals, 3-27. And they're going to be tough to topple now, Cam Brown.
They are, and I think it was a 4-goal quarter that time for the Pies. The Tigers with a couple, one to Paul and one to Lovell, but they just had some smart ball movement inside 50 that quarter, Glenorchy, and they made the Tigers pay. I would be a little bit disappointed the Tigers coaching staff, where there was a couple of uncontested marks taken inside that forward 50 by Glenorchy, and they're able to get on the scoreboard and kick goals. Roberts, we saw, kick one of those goals. So it's going to be tough, Banks-Smith with the other. So it's going to be really tough now, I think, for the Tigers. From their perspective, they would hate to be blown away in this last quarter, because I think for the majority of this game, their efforts have been pretty good, boys, the way they've gone about it. There's been some great endeavour. They've been led terrifically well by a couple of their leaders in Davies, and Kieran Lovell in particular has been outstanding throughout this game. But Glenorchy flexed their muscles there, showed why they are one of the premier teams of the competition, and they would like, again, from their perspective, to put the foot down here and hopefully record a big win in what's been a difficult day for players to really stamp their imprimatur from a skills perspective. So looking forward to the last quarter, just looking forward to seeing how the Tigers do respond. They were probably outworked in the contest there in that last 30 minutes, but they get an opportunity to regroup. Plenty to play for. Both teams on the road next week too, boys, travelling to Launceston. So another opportunity for them in next week. But now the last quarter shapes up as a big one for the Tigers.
Yeah, feel like late goal to Banks-Smith. Real hammer blow to the Tigers' efforts. As you mentioned, Brownie, plenty of endeavour from them. Competed really well and defensive group led by Davies when he's been down there, and Blake McCulloch have really stood tall. As we mentioned many times today, very difficult conditions for football. You can see some of the streamers on our broadcast side going one way and others going the other, so this gives you an indication of the conditions we've got to deal with. But yeah, interesting last quarter. The Tigers a little way back now. Glenorchy, as you mentioned, looking to really rubber stamp this game. Aiden Grace looked really lively late in that term. Showed a bit of class with some of his marking, but even just some of his field passing as well. You feel like if he can get off the chain in the last quarter, could be party time for the Pies.
Yeah, he was really good, wasn't he? Stood up, took some nice contested marks. We saw Jay Bowden just on screen there kick a terrific right foot banana. And this is the goal to Roberts, which unfortunately, from a Tigers perspective, he was unmarked there inside 450 on a day when it's been really difficult to find some time and space. Mickey Paul, that was a really great contested mark from him. He had a couple of really good moments in the third quarter, was able to convert for them. They threw in the middle just to try and generate something there. Potentially a little bit stagnant in that area. And then we saw Aiden Grace, as you mentioned, Aussie, with a really nice set shot kick for goal. And he's continually kicked multiple goals in every game this year. And a handy game from him, where conditions don't necessarily suit, and we saw right on the three-quarter time siren a smart finish from Ryan Banksmith. It's a bit of a blow there from the Tigers' perspective, getting that one out close to 5 goals.
How have you seen the games of some of those younger Tiger players? Brownie, you mentioned Alex Bessel a bit earlier in the call, and Patrick Kelly. They've had some moments.
Yeah, they have, and it's a great opportunity for these boys, isn't it, to be thrown a chance by their coaches and showing good faith. And what normally happens when you do throw some young players into the competition, very rarely do they let you down, because they normally play with great energy. They energise the rest of their group with their natural enthusiasm around the contest. So both boys haven't been dominant, but they haven't been disgraced either in the way they've gone about it. So you'd think all goes well for their career at TSL level. They're still learning the game, but players like Davies and Lovell and Paul, with some of the experience they've had, Ryan Matthews, they've got a nucleus of there of some really good senior players that these guys can really learn from and be sponges, as they say, and try and take up as much intel from these players so they can, I guess, add value to their games individually. So still a quarter to play out for some of these young boys, but that's been a key feature, hasn't it, of TSL footy over the last few years. Some of these junior players that are making their way in the game, and we get to see them each and every week on the stream.
Yeah, so a big challenge ahead of the Tigers if they were to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. But Glenorchy look a good thing here at three-quarter time, it has to be said. A little over a 4-goal lead.
And in
conditions
fairness,
like today,
the back line has stood up really, really well for Glenorchy, haven't they? Just to concede 4 goals in 3 quarters of footy. They've been helped with a few things, as we mentioned, but it's such an experienced group down there. Smith took a nice intercept mark at one point. Gunther's also done that on a few occasions. We know the job Arnold does. So they're really experienced back there. And at their best, they launch a lot of their scoring from that back half.
And they're doing it without Daniel Joseph as well.
Yes, of course, out for the year, a big blow, but so much class in this Glenorchy setup.
There is. And what a game next week too, boys. North Launceston versus Glenorchy up there.
Huge.
That'll be terrific. The Tigers are also on the road against Launceston.
So just about to start the last quarter.
From a Glenorchy's perspective, and you'd think they'll win this game, boys, it's a great start to the season for them, got to be said. Just got to get wins on the bank early, and it hasn't been the prettiest game today, but you'd think they're going to walk away with the 4 points in the bank, which is what they would have come here expecting to do today. And you have to win in different ways, and today's been a different way in terms of the way they've gone about it.
Yeah, it's been a strange old contest in terms of the conditions. It does look like the winds maybe died down a touch.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just looking at Sam Reeves, he looks like he's limping a little bit as he's coming off the ground to start the last quarter.
think Clinton French has been running for Glenorchy today. Of course, another player that they'll get back at some point. He's got an injured hand. So, pretty fearsome lineup, the Magpies, aren't they? So, Tigers done a pretty good job for a lot of today, but that third quarter they just leaked a little too much. Yeah,
just a few lapses in concentration, wasn't it? And some smart converting from Glenorchy made them pay.
It's funny, the margin's a bit over 4 goals, but Kieran Lovell for mine being comfortably the best player on the ground.
Yep. Yeah, right from the word go. It's looked a class above today, as you'd expect from someone that's been in the AFL system coming back.
That's a fantastic bounce right in the middle. Duffy down. Camrick applying good pressure, but no, wasn't called for in the back.
Oh, really?
So, ball up again, still in the middle of the ground. Duffy down. Racing onto it was James Webb. Johnston will pick it up and look for Lovell. Can't quite find him. Webb swings inside 50. Grace.
Again, he reacted quicker.
He's got football smarts. Just kicks into the pocket. That's a really good kick to pick out Bank Smith.
Yeah, great call, Gilly. He has got terrific footy smarts. Knew that he needed to play on quickly. Honoured the lead from Bank Smith. We saw kick a great goal at the end of the third quarter. Grace straight away runs to the goal square in case this one drops short.
So Bank Smith kicked a good one up the other end. What can he produce here? Offline. Minor score. Glenorchy doing the bulk of the scoring.
Played some footy for the Devils early on this year. Ryan Bank Smith is an overage player.
Griggs out from full back and standing under it was Arnold.
So Josh Arnold, some good moments as usual today. Goes inside 50 looking for Grace. Almost brings down a one-handed mark. Immediately wraps up the tackle. That's his game in a moment there, Aiden Grace. Constantly competing. Lockie Clifford wrapped up, have a ball up inside Glenorchy's forward 50.
He'd be in the squad, I would have thought, for the under 25, isn't it, Gilly, that we've got a Tasmanian team running around this year, which is great, isn't it? A terrific opportunity for some of our boys to play at a higher level.
Lockie Clifford extracts that ball from the stoppage. Tigers go out wide looking for Mickey Paul. Under pressure from Butterworth, but holds his ground. Damian Gill very happy to see Paul up and
Look
about.
at that!
Roost the ball towards forward 50. Luke Graham almost infringement there as he pushes back quickly, assesses his options, decides to bang it in long. Got some targets up there, almost the chest mark taken. Plenty of pressure being applied here and a rush behind for Glenorchy.
Gee, that was
Davies.
He did all the hard work and spilt the chest mark. That was probably the slickest ball movement we've seen from the Tigers. It was a real deep entry from them. Started with the all-mate Mickey Paul, who is pretty much in the best players for you before he even runs out. And that's no disrespect to him because he's a terrific player.
The eyes certainly lit up when he took that mark there.
But he's got a competitive advantage, I think, with you in the commentary box. We've all got our favourites, though, boys.
It was an unbelievable kick, in fairness.
It was.
A very good kick.
Powerful kick.
There's another stoppage unfolding. See a bit of a chill in the air because the boundary umps starting to try and warm themselves up when they aren't in the action as Webb just throws it on the boot. Nothing fancy about that. It'll be thrown on in. Far side here at KG5.
It's going to get pretty dark in the next 15 or 20 minutes here too.
I was about to say the lights are on and they'll sort of take toll sooner rather than later as it comes in again. Duffy down. It's well done by Camrick. He's a class player. Kicks it forward 50. Grace, strong hands.
It's got better and better as the game's gone on. You mentioned Camrick. He was one player in the third quarter. Just started to cut him up with his run and carry.
So Grace now from beyond the arc, just kicking and hoping more or less for someone to come and clunk. In the end, it's bounced out. Will be thrown in. You know, Ben Camrick, he's gone from a handy type to a real match winner, I think. Looks like a
It seems to get better every time you see him play, doesn't he? This is where Tigers have got to be careful from a stoppage here. Glenorchy plays on the move.
So down it comes. Sniffing the footy was Grace. Manufactures a shot. Rice does well. Pretty clever. Helps it over.
Again, really smart kick by Grace to get it to the dangerous spot. Playing the percentages.
The Tigers bring the ball back out, looking for Mickey Paul. Elijah Reardon's there as well, but Harrison Gunther had the sit. Dishes the ball off to Paul. He goes out to Kieran Lovell. Up to touch quieter to start this term, Lovell. That ball well smothered. Ben Camerick again drives the ball to Ryan Banks-Smith, who's starting to have an impact on this game. He goes out wide to the unmanned Reece Mott. Tidy little kick from Mott. Poland just gets a hand in there to prevent Grace from marking, but again, Aiden Grace following up and making a contest out of it. Johnston wrapped up in the middle of the ground. Donnelly receives the handball. Raking handball out wide. Onto Dygan. Dygan down the line. Really good ball from him as the Tigers start to make their attack through Graham. He looks for Kieran Lovell. And again, some slick ball movement from the Tigers in this last quarter. As Kieran Lovell.
It's great work rate
50.
from Lovell. He worked really hard to make an option for his teammate.
Watch for big. Oh.
Better say, looks to go on board to Davies, and that is where he goes. Davies spending a little more time forward of centre in this final term. Almost should have taken a mark in the square earlier in the term. He now dishes off to Lovell. He loads his shot on goal. It's going to fall short due to the wind and the fly. Almost taken. Shot on
He's
goal.
finished off. Doesn't matter.
There you go. Was it Mickey Paul there, Gilly?
Of course it was.
Who else? The umpire's just having a bit of a chat.
You need to get over there and make sure it's a
About
goal.
to say, Gilly's pleading from the commentary box, and a goal it is. So Mickey Paul gets one for the Tigers. Kieran Lovell.
I'm just shocked
Get
he didn't
involved.
bring this one down on the chest, the big barrel chest, and he squeezed it through.
Just
Very
wanted some
sharp
more
finish.
airtime, I think. He's been good, really, hasn't he? On a day that hasn't been easy.
Limited supply.
Yep. Such a presence, isn't he? Gives your teammates confidence, though, when you've got a player like that who you know is a big physical specimen, isn't he, the way he goes about it? He draws a crowd.
But again,
And,
Lovell involved.
Yeah,
Yep.
yep.
Been so prominent.
They just give him the footy too.
So bounce down again. Johnston and Duffy. Duffy with a good hit out. Almost for the Tigers, but geared. Measures a kick. Daly somehow was all on his own.
Yeah, he's a master of finding space.
John Geard's had a handy day as well, I reckon, boys.
He has.
Underrated player,
thought
I
he
reckon,
was,
Geard.
he was really good early in that first quarter. Find some time and space with his left foot, and he's not frightened to go short and lower his eyes and pick a teammate on that occasion.
So Daly from about 40.
Oh, he's got it.
He struck that pretty sweetly. The pocket rocket with another. So the Magpies answer the call straight away, and they're going to record a big win today.
I reckon that's back-to-back 3-goal games for Cullen Daly. We saw him 2 weeks ago against Clarence. I think he was nearly best on ground,
Yep.
and he was terrific that day. And he's another player that seems to get better and better every week, and gets great value for effort, doesn't he, as a small forward? He can roll through the midfield. Kicks his third, which is a great contribution on a low-scoring day for both teams. Has opened up a little bit, Gilly, in the second half, the scoring.
So Duffy now just thuds it down. Braden Webb onto it. Mott now picks it up. Shakes off a tackle. A big boot off that lethal left.
Good mark.
It's a good mark from Poland. He's competed well in patches. He picks his target out in Matthews. Good work in traffic by Rees and back for Matthews. Kicking over the top. Mott sockers
Clever.
to himself. It's quite stylish. In the end it trickles out. So a very healthy margin opened up for the Maggies. It's going to be near on impossible from here for the Tigers. They battled pretty well in patches. Duffy kicks a long ball blocked.
Still a bit of
Another stoppage.
footy to go here, sorry Gilly, in this last quarter, but I'll be really interested to see how the Tigers go next week against Launceston. I think that'll be a critical game for them to see where they're at.
Yeah, Launceston, another emerging side. Plenty of young players rolling through there at the moment as well. They matched it with the Northern Bombers early last week before being blown away in the end.
They did, and Tigers would see that as a winnable game. So too would Mitch Thorpe, though, from a Launceston perspective. I think that'll be a really good contest, that one.
We're keen to see how the Blues go on the road against Clarence on Saturday as well at Blunston Arena. 2 big games on Saturday with the grand final replay as well. Really see where Lauderdale are at and the new look North Launceston side are as well. Gilly's man Mickey Paul almost takes the mark. Brings Elijah Reardon into play. He lays a great tackle on Gunther. Reardon mops it up again.
Oh, look out.
Really good work from Reardon. Tyler Carter and Mickey Paul in pursuit. That ball's going to trickle out of bounds. Just get a sense with Elijah Reardon. Hasn't quite been able to pull off a few of those things today, but he just has a presence about him. It makes the opposition defenders sweat a little bit. He's very quick. Good tackler as well. Seems to have a good game sense. Bit of a throw in forward pocket for the Tigers. One down by Duffy. Only as far as Lockie Watt. Again, rolling maul of players, but Magpies able to get it clear. Geard hacks the ball down the line. Aiden Grace is in pursuit. That one right on the boundary line. Callan Daly takes it over. So we'll have a throw in. 11 minutes gone in this final term. Glenorchy with a very handy advantage. 9-9-63 plays 5-4-34.
On a difficult day for forwards to get 3 out of Daly and Grace and 2 to Grace.
Oh, geez, great in traffic again, Lovell. Swinging around inside 50. The Tigers, Reardon again competes. Donnelly scraps out a kick, but it's all black and white. Jay Bowden for Banks Smith. Banks Smith done some nice things.
Yeah, I agree with Ozzy. He's worked his way into the game nicely.
It's a Salter. Can't quite take the grab. Holding on Davies. It's going to be his kick.
Doesn't seem like he's had a lot of game time today, Salter, but...
So Davies looking long. And in the Lovell and Paul direction, Paul somehow almost brought it down. Follows up with a great tackle. Takes the ball for himself now. Gets ridden.
How have you seen Marcus Davies' game? Brownie seems to have been in amongst it for a fair bit of it.
Yeah, he has. I think he's tried really hard and at different times tried to break open the game with his run and carry.
So the Pies try to work their way out of defence. Good tackle from Watt, but just clipped high. We'll just release the pressure valve a little bit and it'll be geared again. Finds Arnold and races away as he so often does. Measures a ball on centre wing. Finds the magician Jay Bowden. Bowden looking in the Grace direction, just at his feet. Picks it up, does pretty well. Does Grace, goes backward, but it's to the ruckman in Duffy. Griggs now will collect, finds Lovell, the old 1-2. Griggs now just navigates it pretty nicely in the finish, but his kick not great. Just leaves too much on it. Banks Smith helps himself, finds James Webb. He's got plenty of options if he can shake off Reardon, and he does. Looks deep. Grace juggling over the line for a minor score.
Yeah, Daly free at one point too, in some space.
Short ball in there from Griggs, finds Lockie Clifford. Just working his way back into TSL footy as the former Mariners captain. He was looking for Reardon. Gunther cuts that one off. Smith does the roving. He hacks his ball forward, only as far as the young Tiger, Blake McCulloch. Did some good things today. It's a bit of a run, but again, his kick wasted to Josh Arnold. No one really, I think he might have been looking for Mickey Paul, but missed him by a fair way in the end. Arnold decides to handball backwards as the Magpies reload through Brennan. Reece Mott, those bright green boots, he has the football. He goes inboard looking for a target, and Oakley's there, as is James Webb. Tigers just able to get the ball back, but again, a great tackle from Harrison Gunther. The umpire has said holding the ball.
It's been pretty good today too, Harrison Gunther. Not necessarily racked up a lot of the footy, but when he has, he's butchered that one. But
happened a few times today, the Mockers, as Callan Daly just used his feet nicely. Bank Smith disposed of the ball. Have another stoppage, half forward for the Magpies.
I mean, all teams lose different players from year to year, but Carter's a big loss, isn't he, for the Tigers?
Huge.
One of the best kicks in the competition last year was Mitch Carter. Davies goes down the line. Paul just moved out of the contest. Smith mops it up. He finds Mott inboard. Mott just overcooks the kick again. Lockie Griggs is going to mop this one up for the Tigers. He's had plenty of the football today, Lockie Griggs. He's inboard looking for Clifford. Again, just misses the target. Reece Mott makes a contest of it. James Webb there as well for the Magpies. Ben Camerick dishes it out wide.
Breeze picked up again.
Absolutely, it's picked up once more. Plenty of skill errors the last couple of minutes as well. Most attractive football we've seen today. Griggs hammers that one down the line. Looking for Graham. Out of bounds, half forward for the Tigers.
Interesting to see the reactions from both coaches after this game today, boys. Glenorchy look like they're probably going to run away with a 30-point win. But from the Tigers' perspective, they would probably think, well, okay, they're not too far away from one of the top teams in the competition.
Well, for large portions, they'd be pretty right.
Yes.
It's just that third quarter, really.
And from Glenorchy's perspective, you know you've got to win different ways in different conditions. And they've done it again today, setting their season up really well with a big road trip next week.
So Duffy over the back. Well done in the end by McKnight. But Tigers chop it off. Lovell finds Clifford. He sees it over.
He's going to have 40, I reckon, Kieran.
Yeah, I reckon. If only we had stats, because you're just guessing, really. But he's had such a big influence on the game, giving Tigers quite the chance. The wind the wind took full toll in a big way there.
Tough on the ball, boundary umpire here.
See what he can do. The wind absolutely howling out there, and it comes. Duffy down, slipping through the fingers of Geared. Trying to feed it out was the youngster in Bessel. He's wrapped up. So 30-point lead to Glenorchy. Pretty significant one on a dirty day in terms of conditions. Breeze has taken full toll. It's punched over the back. Bowden eyes it off. Tyler Carter onto it. It might be in the back. It is. And free kick the way of the Tigers. They farm it out quickly to Lovell. Shakes again. Delivers inside 50. Over the back. Almost. But not quite.
He's won his own footy, Kieran Lovell, today, but gee, he's got in some positions to get a handball receive from his teammates, who are more than happy to give it to him. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, you can understand why. Usually pretty sure by a foot, so he's thrown in again. Duffy down. Camerick squeezes out a kick. With a little shake, Griggs finds some room to let fly from range.
Well, that's a goal.
What a goal!
That's a goal of the day, boys.
Young Griggs with a corker.
Yeah, he's been really good for them in a couple of times that we've seen him this year. Gilly, a nice reward, cap off what's been a pretty solid game for him. He's one of their better users off half back and was able to push forward. And it's a great finish. Well done. And cuts the margin back to 24 points. So they fought it out pretty well, the Tigers, in this last quarter. It would have been easy for them to turn it up and Glenorchy run away with this game, but they've stuck at it well.
19 minutes gone in this final quarter. 4 goals the difference. Really good finish there from Lockie Griggs. one of the Tigers' better performers to start 2019. Ball goes up. Johnston does well. Favoured Duffy, but he's got the tap down. Ryan Matthews just finds a bit of room through the middle and finds Mickey Paul. Lace out. Paul just presenting beautifully. A good kick from Matthews as Paul wheels around and goes. Goes along looking for Carter. Just goes through for a minor score.
Yeah, good patch here for the Tigers.
It's very different looking at Tigers' forward line in 2019, isn't it? With Mickey Paul up there. Just changes the whole structure that they're rolling with.
And he's only going to get better as the year goes on. He gets used to the way his teammates play and they get used to his leading patterns, etc.
Gunther just as enough to take the mark. He goes back. Glenorchy look to switch this ball here. Smith has it. Broadcast side. Goes down the line looking for Roberts. He's got a bit of room. Looking for Webb, but Marcus Davies, just spills the mark. Spent it before he'd actually taken it there, Davies. He goes and finds Lovell. Again, just stops and props his Lovell. Uses his space and time. He finds Lockie Watt. One goal today, Lockie Watt.
He's going to get it again, Lovell.
McCulloch's there. He does have Lovell, but he opts to go himself. Down the line looking for Paul. Just punched over the line. Well done there by Tim Butterworth.
One thing he's going to do, Ozzy, you would think he's well on the way to an excellent season, Kieran Lovell. He's going to push his name up again, you'd think, from sheer weight of numbers and give himself an opportunity for other AFL clubs to have a look at him second time around. Yes. Dominating the competition.
Absolutely, certainly hit the ground running. Really impressive start from Kieran Lovell, and today's been no exception. That ball is going to dribble out of bounds to the forward pocket. You know, Tigers were obviously stoked to get his signature coming back home to Tasmania. I'm sure he would have got a lot of offers from interstate as well.
That's terrific for the competition that players like him, and Jacob Gilby's another one that came back to Lauderdale.
So throw in deep inside forward 50 for the Tigers, but Glenorchy just able to get it out. Adam Roberts now has it at half back.
Albeit Gilby's been out of the AFL system for a while, but to have these players return to the competition, and particularly for young players, it's such a great opportunity for them to play.
Sam Darley, another one.
Yep.
North Hobart.
It's only going to make the competition get stronger and hopefully fast track some of the younger players at their respective clubs.
So the ball will be thrown in. Broadcast wing here at KG5. Just about the margin now, really, as Johnston shakes off one. Davies does well, just agriculturally throws a boot at it. Shoved aside. It was reared, and it's a good kick out of defence from Butterworth that finds Webb. That's a magnificent kick to find Bank Smith. Now they stream back into the forward line to the Pies. Kicking the Webb direction. James Webb. Reese does pretty well, really. Competes well and then tries to get the hands out to Griggs. Mott loses the footy. They jump on top and just try and keep it in there forward 50, the Maggies. They lead this one. 23 points the margin. Good buffer on a windy day. Picked up by Braden Webb. Nothing hasty, just kicks out into space and says, Champ, run onto that. And the Champ does. And Jay Bowden will line up.
Not going to be a long quarter, I wouldn't have thought again, boys. I think just the two scored.
So Jay Bowden's kicked one already today. It was a nice around the corner job, the other end of the ground. Now he's got to line up. Set shot goal kicking. It has been indifferent today. That holds up. The wind has done something fierce to that. It held up. Got caught in a wind tunnel.
It did.
As Digan now brings out of defence, and he gets a lot on the journey in terms of his kick. They'll bring it back in though, the Magpies. Little one over the head of Bank Smith. He races onto it. He's been pretty good. Manages to get his kick out, but Lovell arrives. Farms out a handball. It's good. Finds Dygan. A little one over the top and good defensive pressure applied by McKnight. Out it goes. Be thrown in.
I think that caught everyone unawares there, Gilly.
Just hung up there.
Nearly went backwards.
Extreme conditions. So what are we? Almost 25 minutes gone. And Glenorchy will win. Continue their unbeaten run. It was almost just thrown out there by the Tigers in the end. Griggs will track it down. Tries to keep it alive but can't. Yeah, the votes are a hard job on a windy day like this. Cam Brown and Anthony Osborn got a tricky job to do.
So it has been palmed off. Very quick once you saw the conditions, I think, Damian. Very happy to just get rid of that responsibility today, I've noticed.
No, it's come into the team and you just got to take what comes with it.
Stripes, yeah.
Swung back in by James Webb. In fact, he's kicked that out in the full. Griggs wastes no time. Eager to get going. Keen to switch. No, in the end, just drops it short. Pretty good kick, really. Finds the late inclusion, Ben Graham. Looking for Reardon. Hasn't quite been his day. Some almost moments. Back from Bank Smith to Arnold. A piercing kick. He's good, but slips through the fingers of Roberts, who was the target. They'll make their way out through Blake McCulloch and Matthews back to McCulloch. That's a great kick.
Super kick.
A spearing ball.
It's got to hit
For
this.
Davies. Davies measures the target, finds Watt. Interesting give, but Dygan opens up some space and Lovell runs into it. Raking ball deep. Not quite. Was looking for Luke Graham over his head in a minor score.
Nice ball movement from the Tigers on that occasion. Not a lot to play in this last quarter. Arnold again with the kick out. He's been a great player at this level for a long period of time.
It used to be Arnold to Arnold, didn't it? It's Smith now. Looking for Braden Webb. Seeing clear of him. Roberts has a problem. He's got two Tigers on him. Be another stoppage.
Fairness to Glenorchy, they've done what they needed to do today. They're going to walk away with the 4 points. They weren't at their best, particularly early on in the game, but they've just grinded out a solid win today.
They have indeed. Duffy gets front position. Good tap for Geared. Been pretty good. James Webb and Rundle. Rundle now in the Grace direction over his head. Poland doesn't quite cut it off. In comes Daly. Pounces on a loose ball. Kicks inside 50. Grace running hard back in, as is Mott. Mott will be the one that gets onto it. Picks it up. Has an effort at goal, but doesn't reach its destination, and they'll bring it out of defence now, the Tigers. And here's Bessel. Spent it before he earned it. Swung in a good tackle, and that's almost ball. No, umpire lets it go. Be a stoppage right on the paint of 50. No, a kick. So it's going to be a free kick. It's going to go the way of the Tigers, I think. So, ill-disciplined play there. I'll have to bring it back to take it, though, and you'd expect a siren wouldn't be far away here.
Yeah, so it looks like the 50-metre penalty has been paid here for Alex Bessel. Showed a bit of promise in his second game. Again, finds his teammate in Lovell. How many times that's happened today, I'm not sure. Lovell bombs it in long, just over the head of Mickey Paul. The Magpies, the scrappy old kick, are able to rebound. But again, Kieran Lovell mops up that ball, goes inboard looking for Donnelly. We'll have another stoppage outside.
Raised the bat today. He could have had a 50.
Got the Allen border, you reckon? Yeah, it's seems to have had an incredible amount of the football. Looks fit though, doesn't he? And the big ground today, he's been able to run around and accumulate a large amount of the footy. There's a siren.
So full time here at KG5. A good win for Glenorchy. They remain unbeaten in the 2019 Bupa TSL competition, a real heavyweight of this comp, 9-10-64. Defeat the Kingborough Tigers 6-6-42. So a really good win from the Magpies. And really, Brownie, they got the job done in that third quarter.
Yeah, they just broke it open, didn't they, with some nice passages of play in what was difficult conditions, as we said, right throughout this contest. But when they needed to, they lifted another gear and probably put it beyond the Tigers in all fairness by three-quarter time. I thought the Tigers worked pretty hard in the last quarter, and maybe in days gone by, Gilly, they might have been overrun and that margin might have blown out beyond 50 points. But to their credit, they stuck at it. Probably almost won the quarter from their perspective. But well done to Glenorchy, and an opportunity for both teams again to play on Anzac Day, which has become a tradition now for both these teams. And I think in the wash-up, Glenorchy would be pleased. They've come away, they've got the 4 points, difficult conditions. They weren't able to stamp their imprimatur necessarily on the way they like to play today, but you don't get to do that each and every week. And they've won in a different fashion today. It was a bit of a grind, but they were able to get the 4 points. And the Tigers, I thought their effort was pretty good. It was probably 10 or 15 minutes in the third quarter, which really hurt them and was probably the difference, as you say, Gilly. But 22-point margin, and for them to be in it for long periods today against Glenorchy, I think they can take a little bit out of this game as well.
Oh, no question. And we saw the goal kickers there. Daly with 3, Grace, the other big factor, inside forward 50. For the Magpies, and for the Tigers it was Mickey Paul with 2 and Kieran Lovell with a couple. So really good game from a lot of the big players on show. It's time now for the votes, and it's your job, Anthony Osborn, fresh into the com box. What have you got for us?
Yeah, certainly a tough game to allocate the votes to. I think I'll give 1 vote to Ben Camrick. I did say at the start of the game it was my tip for the Anzac medal. Probably didn't have quite that game, but particularly in that second and third quarter, really seemed to stamp his authority on the game, with plenty of the ball, and just showed a bit of class where others were struggling too. I think if you kick 3 goals in a low-scoring game, Cullen Daly probably deserves the 2 votes. He had some really good moments and just always looked to be lively whenever the ball was near him, and no real surprises with the 3 votes. I think Kieran Lovell, despite the loss, he just, as you mentioned at the start of the call, Gilly, was bringing his own share to the football, and I think he really maintained that throughout the entire day. It was a dominant performance from him, and I'd be interested to hear from the Tigers during the week as to what his stats were like. He had early 40s and 10 inside 50s last week, and I think he would have been pretty close to doing the same today at KG5.
It's hard to argue with much of that, Brownie. Good
job, Aussie. And as we mentioned, it's going to be a really good test, I think, next week for the Tigers, just to as today was. But they would see that as potentially a winnable game on the road. Launceston would also fancy their chances, but hopefully they're starting to build. The Tigers, they've been around the mark in the competition for a while now. They're getting some games into a lot of their players, and they're probably looking for a breakthrough against a top 3 or 4 team. That's probably the next thing to tick off from their development stage of their group, I would have thought.
Yeah, no question.
So John Geard has won the Anzac medal. Probably unlucky not to get in the votes.
Didn't get in your vote, but he's won the medal.
And I think that's where Aussie, you needed to just waste a little bit of time for 2 or 3 minutes, go through the best plays, and then wait for that to be called.
Yeah, look, that's a good point, Brownie.
I don't know what Kieran Lovell has to do to get the medal, in fairness.
John Geard, very good game today.
He was good early and late too, and a pretty consistent game. And he's an underrated player. We said that early on in the call. And one of those Glenorchy players that is very dependable and reliable, and seems to be getting better and better each and every week.
So some presentations going on. So it looks like the players are going to make a bit of a guard of honour for the girls that are coming out. So all wrapped up here. A big win for the Magpies, 9-10-64 defeat Kingborough Tigers 6-6-42. We hope you've enjoyed the broadcast. A funny old game of football, but the chocolates go to Glenorchy. Bye for now.